Hello, world. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes while everyone joins us. But how are you? We haven't
I'm
spoken
good, mate.
properly.
Yeah, I'm good.
What have you been
It's been,
doing?
oh well, a little bit different to what I was doing last month, that's for sure. How long has it
Yeah.
been now since we went into lockdown? It was the end of March, was it?
Middle of March. Oh my God, everyone's jumping in so quickly. Iona, Mecca, Anna, Daniel, Ruby,
Oh,
Casey, Lucinda. It's like bang, 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 bang. Oh my God,
oh,
so quick. Everyone's so keen to see the God himself,
wow.
Jordan
Wait,
Munns in the
when's God coming?
building. I love that we're matching. Also, that you wore red and Gab's here as well.
Hey, Gab.
You wore red and it matches my new overlays, so I'm actually stoked about that.
Obviously,
It
it was fate then.
was absolutely fate. Um, yeah, so what were you saying? What have you been doing?
Um, well, honestly, that's like a whole lot of just nothing, to be honest. Like it's been pretty, like it's kind of started up again. Like I had a shoot on Monday,
Yep.
with just like a local artist, and it was very like restrictions.
Social distancing.
Yeah, lots of hand sanitizer, lots of wet
Yes.
wipes,
Yeah.
lots of like showing people the photo like 1.5 meters away,
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. But
Awesome.
yeah, I don't know. It's just been a really, really quiet time, and I always used to say like, one day I'm just gonna take that break. I'm gonna take that. I've been like saying it for like 4 years now. I'm like, I'm just gonna take that break and just stop working. But I'd always like kind of pencil in a time to take the break,
Yeah.
and something
A
would just
forced
pop
break.
up, like a good opportunity would pop up, and I would just be like, I'll push that back a couple of months, and then yeah, now this is kind of like the forced break for everyone. So
Yeah.
just trying to see it like that. But to be honest, like day to day, it's been like a bit hit and miss with like things like productivity and like having good routines and all that kind of stuff. But
I think everyone would be able to feel you on that, Like
yeah,
I don't
it's
feel
been nice.
don't feel
Like even
too bad about that.
yeah, when you tweeted the other day, you were like, I think you said something like, "Oh, I have like some emails to write today, but I can't even bring myself to just like open my email app." And I was like, something like that. And
Yeah. I
I
just
honestly like that made me like emotional to read because I was like to see like friends in the industry who are like also feeling like that. Like it was nice.
yeah.
It was nice to know that even like gurus and heroes and legends like MGH have days like that because I know I've definitely had a few days where I'm like, oh, I don't really know
Don't know what to do with
how to
myself.
face the internet today. Like, yeah, it's been a weird um, process, I guess, of getting used to this new limbo we're kind of in.
Yeah.
But trying to focus on the positives and
Oh my
yeah.
God, everyone is here, by the way. I'm just watching all the names come through.
Hello.
Lucia, Kenzie, Scarlett, Steph, Tim,
Hey.
Love, Shelley, Rebecca Holden, Jazz Meadows,
Oh,
Amber
Jazz.
Lee, Lucinda
Love
Goodwin,
Jazz.
Dara Munnis is here. Aaron, the absolute legend, getting this ready as per usual because he saves the day as per usual. Aaron, oh my God, he's the best. Brit's here. What up, Brit? For those who don't know, Simone, oh my God, my friend Simone's here. She made a stream. G'day. For those who don't know Jordan, I think a lot of you do, but he's an absolute icon and legend and all round legend. Goat. Everyone calls him the goat. So many of the questions that I got for you were around how do I become the goat?
Oh my
Tell,
God.
can you please ask him how do we become the goat, which is pretty funny.
It's a great question. I'm still
Um,
figuring it out, to be honest. So I'll let you know when I do figure that out.
yes, no, you're doing pretty well. I want to show some of your work while we're chatting, actually. So hang on, which one is it? This one. Here you go. Wrong scene. But I'm going to scroll through some of your work while we're chatting. But I guess a good place to start is at the start because I guess you was telling me today, and it's one of the most common questions I get is like, how do you get your start in music photography?
Yeah,
I think because there's no
set path.
one path. Like every single person has a
Yeah,
totally different story about how we've become music photographers. So Yeah, do you want to tell your story? And I'm going to scroll through some of your work for those who haven't seen it. It is absolutely epic. You are a fucking genius. And
We're gonna put like some like Days of Our Lives music on as it's like scrolling slowly.
yes,
Just
we
like
are.
background talking.
I actually forgot to press play on my music. I need to do that.
On the stream was just bangers galore.
I know. Maybe I'd actually need to run and do that while you're giving a bit of a background. I'm going to leave it on the confetti shot. I'm going to go and press play on the music in the background. But just, yeah, you start at the start. I'll be back in 2 secs.
No worries. Well, I don't even really know, to be honest. I think I always kind of knew that I wanted to do something to do with photo / like anything creative. But I think it was probably about 14 or 15. I remember my oldest brother, he'd always played around in Photoshop and done graphic design and stuff. And he put Photoshop on my computer and he sat me down like little 14-year-old me. And he was like, I want you to basically sit on this app every day and make something. So it started out with that. So I would even just like take my dad's digital camera and take the worst photos of like flowers on window sills or like my cat in the garage, just the most like random stuff. And it kind of developed from there. And then I just remember as soon as I turned 18, or even before I turned 18 actually, I was shooting like some local shows. And then as I finished up high school, I ended up shooting a lot of shows for like local publications. But this was all like on the side as well. Like, so I was also working full time, like straight out of school, but then also shooting shows at night. And like when you're 18, 19, 20, I swear you can honestly like, I feel like you're kind of superhuman. Like you go out every weekend and then you go to 3 shows a week and then you're at work full time as well. Like I feel like you just have endless energy. So I think when I was younger, I took like full advantage of that. And that's how I kind of got the rope, like kind of learnt the ropes with music photography. But it was different back then, I feel, and I'm sure you feel the same. With like music photography and the community and stuff, it wasn't as welcoming and easy to break into. So I definitely kind of felt like I was rolling a bit solo.
Oh my God.
For a long time.
I've spoken about this before. Like I really don't feel like I felt like part of the music photography community until the past maybe 2 or 3 years, to be honest.
Yeah.
I felt very isolated for a long time, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like it was anyone's fault. Like I don't feel like it was anyone being malicious or anyone being negative or anything. It was more just for me. I think I just didn't understand that there was a community there and I didn't really know how to connect with it properly. So for a long time, I kind of felt like a little bit like separate from the community. But I took a break for a few years and just like decided to focus on full-time work. And I think I got a little bit burnt out. And then in like, I think it was 2015 or 2016, started shooting shows again, picked up my camera again. And then doors just started opening again, which was really nice. And I was still working. I work as a graphic designer as well. Like,
that makes so much sense.
Yeah, which is something I don't really like get to talk about much because it's like most of this is music related.
I feel like it's obvious in your edits, to be honest. Everyone that I know that has a design background has superior edits like yourself, and also unlike myself because I have no fucking idea. But that makes so much sense because you have such a great knowledge of design and I'm assuming things like Photoshop and.
There's a lot of crossover in that world, especially like nowadays, especially even with video content and the way that content has moved. Is kind of having the ability to design is more and more valuable.
Jared's saying you're looking clean, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Just shower. Thank you very much.
I'm just looking at the comments as well. Amberly's saying that your photos are always so stunning, which I'm sure everybody will agree. There's often those moments where I think everyone knows that you have shot a gig and they're all waiting for you to post to see how friggin' epic they are.
No pressure or anything.
They are very crisp, as Scarlett's saying. Boss level work, Aaron just said as well. So,
thanks, Aaron. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
But it's nice to hear that the story, that you feel like you weren't really part of the community, and that's really. I do actually feel like it's because there's been a little bit of a changing of the guard, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, I think,
people that were, I don't know, maybe a little bit more closed off, and have left, and then there's been people like yourself and myself and other people that have got to a level that are way more about community and way more inclusive and just brought everyone together. It's one of my biggest passions, really, is to bring
100%.
everyone. And I obviously have a specific passion about inspiring young females as well, because when I first started there was just no women. So
Yeah, I have like just memories of shows where I'd turn up and I just felt there was like a bunch of photographers who I'd never really spoken to, and I just remember looking at their gear and I'm just there with my little camera. I just remember feeling like, and I feel like it wasn't even anyone's fault. It was probably just my fault. Like I didn't feel like confident enough as a young person to kind of step into that. Where I feel like now, I remember thinking like, I wish I had an MGH. I wish I had a Pat Stever. Or I wish I had like,
yeah, Pat's really great too.
People,
Yeah.
Yeah, or like the people who've nurtured me as I've like started to work more and stuff and worked on these projects with people like you guys. Like I kind of find myself thinking like, I wish I had that person, because I don't really ever feel like I've met anyone like that.
Yeah, but you know what that means.
Also confidence issue for me.
It just means that you're that person for other people. Like, that's how I see it, because I didn't have it either. So now it's like,
Yeah,
I want to be that person for other. Yeah, you definitely are, because I hear people say it all the time. Like, you're so encouraging, and your publication has given so many chances to people to go to shoot that probably wouldn't have had those opportunities. And
I hope so, yeah, because that is the best part about being able to organise media for shows.
do you want to talk a little bit about that, actually? Do you want to talk about Best Before?
Yeah,
Because I think that's a really good segue into what you do and how you've both, has provided opportunities for yourself, but other music photographers.
Yeah, well, originally Best Before was like, it was me and some friends that I'd grown up with, and we were talking about music, we were passionate about it, and then two of the guys who I started it with were like, well, why don't we write about music if we're talking about it all the time? Why don't we just share our thoughts? So that eventually became just like this tiny little blog that we were like, we'll just write like 100-word track reviews and we'll post them, and like 3 people will read it, and we'll be so proud and we'll be so stoked. So it just started off as like this shitty little website, and then I just remember in the space of a year, I just like PR people started getting in touch, and we kind of realized that there was much more of a community than we realized around like, and that's when that's also when around the same time, that's why I started picking up my camera again.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so we're going to start covering live shows now, and there's like publicists inviting us to shows. So that's why I picked up my camera, because I went and covered these shows with a writer or a reviewer, or I'd review the show myself.
Yeah. And then at what point did you start getting other photographers on board? Because I know, pretty much all of the best photographers shoot for you now. So, and we've got a few. We've got Ruby and Gabs, who I know shoots for you. Legends in the chat. They do work for you as well. At what point were you like, oh, okay, this is bigger than just me, and I can give opportunities to other people?
I think that was like a year or so in when we were like, okay, well, let's start delegating. Let's just start getting other people involved. And I noticed like I would have conversations with photographer friends who were like, I really want to shoot this artist. I really want to shoot Paramore. I really want to shoot this, like, any of these artists that people were like kind of really struggling to get media access to. And they were like, but I just have no way of getting in, and I have no way of like opening that door, and I don't even know where to start. And so the coolest thing about Best Before was that eventually it just started growing and growing and growing into this basically like opportunity machine, I guess, for like young photographers, for people like who I would meet at shows, and they'd be like, oh, I'd be like, what have you got coming up? And they're like, oh, I really want to shoot this and I really want to shoot that. And it would eventually turn into a conversation of, oh, then come and shoot my website. So it just became this thing. And then that kind of became the main focus for me, is that it was less about like what we were doing before, where it was writing about music we loved. And for me, it more became about opening doors and providing opportunities and nurturing people who are coming up underneath. So
it shows how special you are as a human, because I think that a lot of people would have seen that it was doing well and wanted to hold that success for themselves, but it actually shows what a legend you are that you do provide these opportunities. Because I think
honestly, it's become the most hands-off project now. It's basically just like we have this spreadsheet and people jump into the spreadsheet, and when a tour is announced, they drop in the show. and then it's basically just like a first come, first serve basis. But I mean, honestly, like we've had so many people who are just willing to help out and volunteer and just get involved. And a lot of them are here right now in this chat.
Yeah.
So,
Has there ever been any arguments about like a particular show because everyone wants to shoot it?
It gets competitive. Like so, for example, like say they'll announce like a tour at like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning.
Hey,
it's so funny.
Rins. It's a new follower just saying what up.
You just like sit in the spreadsheet and watch as everyone just like jumps into the spreadsheet and like adds in the terms. Like who can get to the spreadsheet first?
Yeah, totally.
With those big like arena tours and
Oh,
stuff.
like as soon as they're announced, just be like, my God, quick!
I remember just before Corona hit with Harry Styles, I know a lot of people just like, I'm so ready to put that into the spreadsheet. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty funny.
Emma's saying she misses the spreadsheets, and Ruby said there's so many subtle arguments, which I'm not surprised at all. Just being like
some serious a cred beef.
Yeah, passive aggressiveness, like fuck you.
I like to call it passion.
Passion. It is passion. It's exactly what it is. Tiogan's here as well. What up? Thanks for joining us. You can see the edit history as well, Tim said, on the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
People can bring up the receipt.
That is so funny. So what's your, the other question I think we get all the time, it's not my favourite question, but it's, oh, hello, what's that, Dolphin Boy, g'day. I love the names on Twitch, it's so cool. It's not my favourite question, but it's the question that I, probably get asked the most is about what's in my kit, what am I shooting with, what are my lenses, like what are your go-tos for when you're shooting live music?
It's kind of evolved, but I feel like the golden rule for me is I shoot with Canon. I know you're Nikon, right?
I am Nikon girl.
An ambassador.
Not quite ambassador yet, but fingers crossed, guys. Let's just call me an ambassador while we're here.
Nikon has entered the chat.
I think Jared Seng's here. What up, Jared? Legend. Whoa. So many legends today in the chat. It's great.
Yeah, when I could kind of afford it, which took a long time to kind of get to that level, I bought a second body. So now I shoot with 1DX.
Ah, cool. Yeah.
And 5D Mark IV is the second body. But if it's a job that kind of requires, like for example, for Laneway recently, I grabbed a second 1D off one of my friends just because it's so nice just being able to swing between camera to camera and there's no difference between the two.
Yeah, the quality. And so I was just going to say, for those big festivals, you're shooting with two bodies?
Yeah, I think with, especially for the stuff that I find myself mainly shooting at, it's a lot of hip hop, it's a lot of like quite energetic performers, and I feel like having to stand there and kind of swap your lens on the fly while the artist is like screaming in your face. Yeah. Probably basically you're missing shots. So I think to have two bodies where I have like a long lens on one and then a wide on the other, I can just quickly switch up and just like start snapping away. And then if they come a little bit closer, I don't have to kind of fumble around the bag. I can just like chuck a lens straight on and start shooting.
Yep. Looks like Marcus is here as well. He says, "What up to you?"
Hey.
All the
I was talking on Instagram today.
All the legends are here. So cool. And yeah, I guess if you're shooting with two bodies, if you've got like a wide and
like a 16 to 35, and usually like a 70 to 200, and then sometimes I'll chuck on like a 50 mil if I know that the artist is going to be quite still and stable, and I can get some really nice crispy 50 millers. But yeah, the 16 if I'm not really sure what to expect, it'll usually be like the 16 to 35 and the 70 to 200. Yeah. And then you're kind of ready for anything, I guess.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I shot with two bodies forever, like since I maybe like 2 years into starting, and then I've just gone back to one now.
How come? What was the thought process?
So much more touring, older body breaking.
I was going to say
breaking down. Yeah, body breaking down. I guess, I mean, festivals are totally different. You absolutely have to shoot festivals with two bodies. I think, particularly when you're just shooting one artist at a festival or even one artist on tour, you can definitely get away with one body, and I did. I did get away with it. So I did it.
I mean, there's no real right way. Like, it's usually, for me, the two bodies usually comes in handy when it's just a really energetic, really intense set.
Yeah.
But especially if you only have 3 songs.
Yeah.
Someone like, for someone like, for a hip hop artist where you got 3 songs.
Totally.
Out,
You're just like, quick.
honestly, I just feel like it just all flies by in a blur, and then you're just like outside the venue and you're just like, what the heck just happened? Like, what's happened?
Gab just said she wishes she could get a second human body. Is that because you're so little, Gab? That's so funny. That's very cute.
Well, I mean, I saw on Twitter today, was like one of the questions someone asked was, what was something that you wish you knew when you started?
Yeah, Shelley asked that question. I was going to ask that later on, but it's a good one.
I was honestly just going to say, like, I wish I would tell myself to take care of my back, essentially, like take care of my body.
There's a few people that have actually said that in my interviews for younger people, is to really, really take care of your body, because and I definitely notice now because I am the grandma of the community, but it's really
cool
hard.
Mom.
I'm the cool mum. It really does take a toll, and especially if you're touring and you're carrying your laptop and all your lenses and everything. Like, it does count to be like a little bit more compact and just a bit. I just have to be a bit smarter in the way that I shoot, but it's easier, I think, when you're on tour with an artist because you know the show.
And you kind of know where you want to be and what shots you want in your head.
Totally. Yeah.
Totally different experience.
Tiogan's saying, I guess I'll take care of my body while I'm young. He's 15, so...
Yes, please do, dude.
Yeah, earplugs. Jared said earplugs, and can I just 100%. Say 100% that is the best tip. Absolutely wear earplugs. I had a friend when I first started shooting who was a drummer, and I was he's Remy's producer, Sensible J, and he drums for him, and he literally drilled it into me. He's like, Michelle, you need to wear earplugs, and like from the very first moment that I started shooting. So.
And I didn't take it seriously when I was younger either, and I'm just fully like, now I'm obviously like taking it a lot more seriously, but I'm like ready to face that challenge when it comes, because I just know, like, working in our industry, you kind of have to be ready for those kind of like challenges and try and beat them, essentially.
Plot twist, Tiogan is a girl. I'm so sorry, I misgendered you, my love. Apologies, girl. Adam's in the chat as well. He's saying earplugs are a must. Britt saying the same thing. Gab said that her body's already destroyed from years of gymnastics. So there's some great tips coming through.
She's just embracing.
Yeah, some great tips coming through. Rebecca said she gets a full body massage the day after I shoot a festival every time. I do the same thing. I haven't shot a festival in a while, but I did that every single time I ever shot a festival. That's a great tip.
I always say I'm going to do that, and then I just get lost in the editing. Suddenly it's midnight, and I'm
good if you could lie on you and edit at the same time.
Even just like, because I'm quite tall, like, as well, I've always had posture problems where I've kind of always slouched a little bit. Yeah. So, I mean, on top of that, what we do is quite taxing, especially when you're touring.
Oh my god!
And you're trying to sleep on planes and
sleep and edit on planes. They're the two times that you get. Dara said. Molded earplugs with 25 decibel what's that word? Attenuators? I'm so bad at tech shit, hey. Aaron will be yelling at me going, I know what this word is, Michelle, you're so dumb.
Because I've definitely looked into molds, because I feel like every person who's upgraded to molds
I've got molds now, actually. I'm on the fence about them. Like, it depends. They don't cut out as much. I think because I was so used to sticking in the foam that was like so dead. Like you can actually hear. And most of the time that's really great because you can have conversations. Just occasionally, if I'm really, really close to the front, I feel like, is this enough? Am I getting enough? But, my ears are still fine. So,
that's good.
Yeah, totally. Just looking at the chat to see if there's lots of cameras happening in the chat, which is great.
I'm going to have to open up
Twitch. You have to open up Twitch to see. Yeah. Yes.
Come on. It's happening.
Oh, that's so funny. Yes. The other question that I wanted to ask, I know that you get asked this question all the time, but how did you start working with festivals and the bigger events and artists? Because that's, I think, one of the biggest progression. I think like the progression issue for people is like they don't know how to take that next step. They're showing love.
Yeah.
They're showing love for your photos with the camera emote. So there's like
Oh my
they're
gosh, I get
flooding the chat. I've got to keep remembering to scroll as well. I mean, like it's just flawless. So much amazing stuff.
It's actually a great question. I mean, again, like it kind of comes down to that how did you get your start thing. Like I don't really think there's one set way, and I think it's different even from country to country or like region to region or even like scene to scene, I guess. Feel like there's no real one way to do what you do. But in saying that, I think it was in 2018 where I did some shot at Lost Paradise Festival.
Yep.
And then from there, I think the people that I met at that festival and like starting to engage more with the community and starting to talk to these photographers who were shooting festivals regularly, you kind of end up like, you click with these people, and then it's not just about like the work you're producing, it's also about the person you are to work with.
Absolutely.
So I think like more and more I was noticing like I would start chatting to someone who was shooting at a festival and we'd become mates, and we maybe have a couple of drinks, and then it would turn into, oh, you should come and shoot this festival with me because I do that every year. And then it kind of
totally.
And then it kind of becomes like a word of mouth thing. And I feel like our industry and our community in Sydney and even like in Australia kind of works like that, where it's like everyone's kind of like clients are like to the people that they hire you, like who should I get to shoot with you? And the person, if they had a good experience and like you bonded on another job,
totally.
Like, get this person, they're great.
Yeah.
Like, I can recommend them, and then you're doing the same thing for other people. So I think it just came from that, like just getting to know people and just having fun and being like chill and positive and like easy to work with. And then I think that's when those opportunities come.
And also,
absolutely. Like, even like as well, even like the thing that I notice is that even if I'm not feeling confident, I kind of have to fake it, and then like the crazy thing is that like everyone else is faking it too.
Oh my god,
like,
yes.
Like, and it's crazy as you work more and more, and you work with more people that you've always looked up to or that you admire. You kind of realize that like everyone's still figuring their shit out. Like everyone's still learning, everyone's still growing, everyone's still like making mistakes and kind of like learning their craft. And
yeah. I think you've really touched on the most important thing, and I think something that is really hard to understand when you're starting out, but the networking and being a really good person to work with and being really positive and like all of those things really are, I think, the most important thing. It's really the stuff that will get you work, because people will like working with you, they'll remember you, you'll get referrals, even more so than being a great photographer, because like, let's be honest, like everybody that we know is a great photographer. Like the whole scene are great photographers. Yeah. There might be slightly varying, minuscule like differences, but like
different styles and different skill sets.
I mean, I've said this so many times, but I genuinely feel like we have the best photographers in the world, and that's no hate for anybody else, but we have such a high standard that I think brings everybody else up to a really high standard. So, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It totally is about that, and it totally is. It's kind of like more and more I'm noticing like I'm working at these festivals and at these events with the same like group of 30 to 40 photographers, and it comes with like kind of this unspoken like attitude and like positive approach to what we do, which I feel like is infectious, and it helps people. It helps people book more jobs because the client walks away from that day with that photographer or that videographer and goes, that was honestly like, I couldn't have asked for a better experience, and like they were so reliable, they delivered, they were friendly, they were chill, they weren't divas. It's honestly just being an easy person to work with, I feel, is like what has worked the best for me.
Yeah, totally.
And it's not always something that like, it doesn't always, like, it's not something that you kind of have to like push really hard to do. I feel like you kind of just have to train yourself into being an open, positive person, which like on days where you don't really feel like working can be quite a difficult thing to do. Like there might be a day where you turn up at a festival and you're like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get through this day. But then you kind of have to flick that invisible switch in your mind and be like, I'm responsible for like not just my experience of the day, but I'm responsible for everyone I'm working with.
Yeah.
And I'm getting paid to be here and provide content and be a good person to work with. So I'm gonna step it up for the boys and for the girls.
Totally. Hello to all the new people who've just joined us. I saw Matthew joined, Ethan, Megan, I think, did I say hi before? Detessa, you've just jumped in, which is really cool. I am Harp. A bunch of people that have just said hi, and so that's really cool. And I like, there was somebody that was saying thanks for sharing. Oh, Megan, thanks for sharing on this issue. Often feel like I don't know what I'm doing or what to do next. I feel like everybody feels like that at some point. I mean, on the daily. What's the next step? What do we do?
Trust me, you are. Yeah, it's crazy. Like people will message you on Instagram or something and be like, "I'm such a fan of what you do. I'm a fan of your work." And it's just like, if only they knew that I was like sitting in bed, just like moping around because I was like just having
a bad day,
imposter syndrome day. And
yeah.
Everyone goes through that, and like whether or not you talk about it and acknowledge it and kind of work through it. We're all in the same boat, and we're all.
It's quite wild that you have imposter syndrome days, but anyway.
I mean, I feel like no one's really safe.
Yeah, no.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like also if you're not having days where you're kind of doubting yourself and kind of questioning things, and it kind of probably means that you're not growing, which I think is like.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like the imposter syndrome for me is rarer. Like it's not that I ever think I shouldn't be in this position, but I definitely have crippling self-doubt when I look at other people's work or somebody that shot something to go, I need to be better. But that just drives me, to be honest, like those moments. It makes me go do a new edit, or makes me really think about next time, because maybe I'm just getting complacent, or I've been just cruising for too long. So like, get your skates on, because like here come all the awesome kids with they're just
100%. I've had that conversation with like dozens of like people that we work with as well, and it's kind of like, for me, it's like I can look at Instagram and be sad about this or compare myself, or I can kind of keep my head down and focus on what I'm doing, which is like a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
But I've honestly I've never grown from a situation where I felt jealousy or I felt felt like an imposter.
Yeah.
But I've always grown from the times where I'm just like in my own lane, focusing on what I'm doing, focusing on growing myself.
Yeah, totally.
That's the time where you actually see growth and success.
Steph said she's always suspicious of photographers who brag how good their work is. Like, yes. That's so funny.
I think it's a bit of a red flag.
Yeah, it's a huge red flag. Or somebody that I've had this actually happened to me, oh God, when I first started. Somebody pulled out their phone. Oh God, I'm cringing just thinking about it.
Oh no.
To show me this is my work and can you follow me on Instagram? And I was like, sure. And their work wasn't amazing. But anyway, gave them a follow, and they're like, oh, can I follow you? And I felt really bad because I had like 5 times the amount of followers they did, and they were like, oh, they got really snooty at me, and I was like, but you started it, you put your
Oh no.
I didn't know what to, I wasn't the one sitting there going, oh, check me out, follow me, it was really cringe. But anyway, yes, Tim, it happened to me in the pit, so it's quite funny.
My favorite approach to those kind of situations is usually just to just totally change the subject.
Oh God, yes.
If they'll ask me so what have you been up to, and I'll just be like, oh, moved house, got some new housemates, and I'll just talk about anything but work.
Oh yes, totally.
Kind of
yes.
I want to get to know you. I don't want to talk about.
Oh my God! Or the real gearheads, especially when I first started, older, generally male photographers that wanted to talk about gear. I was like, I'm so bored. I don't like to talk about gear, or I don't care about it. Honestly, it's the most boring conversation to me. So I'm just like,
yeah, tell me what's going on in your life.
Yeah,
tell me about what you've been watching. Tell me what you've been
Woo! Sorry, we've had a subscription in the house. Oh, Matt has gifted a subscription. That is, my God, Matt Waddingham, you absolute legend. That is very appreciated. Can you guys hear what happens? Like, does that come through? Because it's like a big celebration and there's like confetti and it's like...
I never saw it the other night. Twitch is wild, man.
Twitch is so wild. I'm learning about it every day. So I just added the confetti the other day because it's the most exciting thing ever when people actually subscribe. Like, it's so cool.
I feel kind of left out. I want to drop some MG pictures in the
Oh, it's so funny. No sound effects. Oh, I could hear the sound effects, but no one else could. That's kind of funny. Sophia, hi. How you going? Lots of people are chatting and throwing in emotes and doing all kinds of things. It's going off. I'm trying to keep up and I want to interact with everybody, but if you've got questions as well, like keep them coming. I'm going to get through the ones that were asked on Twitch and stuff. So
I kind of feel like there's a bit of a brand war going on right now. There's some Sony being thrown around. There's some Nikon.
Oh God, yeah. All about the Nikon for life because we're trying to get that ambassadorship up in here. Is Nikon watching? Hi guys. I'll put a logo and shit in the back. Like I will sell out. This is so funny. Sophia's saying she got an A for her photography. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Oh, yeah, congrats.
That's amazing because I didn't even study photography, so I appreciate anyone that gets a good mark.
I didn't go to uni either.
I can put it in slow mode, can I, Ethan, the chat? I don't even know how to do that, but apparently I can do that. Things that I'm learning. Here we go. Leonardo's got a question. Faced with the COVID situation, what advice would you give to creatives that are feeling a bit down? That's a great question. I've answered it a few times, but you go first.
Well, what were your thoughts? Because I think we spoke a little bit about this when it first hit. Like checking in on each other. Like,
oh my
okay?
God! With that day that you had like the whole of your year cancelled, and I was like, yeah, I've had like from July to April just delete. Fuck.
I just like looking at the calendar, like had to just like close the calendar. Start a new one.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I had 2 weeks of a lot of anxious energy because I am quite high functioning. Marcus just subscribed.
Yes, love that guy.
Celebrate! Legend! Oh my God, so cool. My subscriber goal's not moving tonight. That's annoying. All of these things that I did. But anyway, thank you so much, Marcus. You were a bloody legend. Big thumbs up. I started streaming. I put all of my anxious energy into streaming. And yeah, it just, it's, to be honest, has been the best thing for my mental health to engage with my community here that show up. The fact that they just show up for me is so heartwarming, and it's usually the same group of legends, and being able to like, you know, teach some of the stuff that I learn and set little challenges and goals have been like life-changing. So, and
it keeps you accountable as well, right? You're kind of like, you're following.
I love accountability. This is why I like telling people about my projects, because it holds me accountable, and I can't not do something once I've said that I'm doing it. So
yeah, the best way to get something done is to make it like to make yourself accountable to someone else, I feel. Otherwise I'm just like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next month.
Totally.
Like my 4 years with no holiday. Now Corona's entered the chat and forced me to take a holiday.
Totally. I'm just looking at Ooh. Sophia just subscribed. Hype train happening. Subscriptions happening. Oh my God, it is.
If this didn't happen, I was just gonna force.
You're gonna be like hype train. Choo choo. It says 94% until we get to the full hype train level. So how much hype can we get in here, guys? Peak it. Can we get through? Oh my God, thank you so much, Sophia. That's like, yeah. Actually, it was Steph that gifted it to Sophia. I see that late, so thank you, Steph, for gifting. That's so kind. Anyone that's gifting subs is like a bloody extra legend. Super kind. Actually, this is a good question because I'm looking at a shot. Is this actually... don't know. No, that's a different shot that I was thinking of. But you shoot for the Horden Pavilion as well. So do you want to talk a little bit about how that relationship started? And because I've spoken about the different ways that as music photographers that you can working direct for artists, working for promoters or working for venues. So you've kind of ticked all the boxes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm definitely. Yeah, well, with the Horden, it was. Wow, it was a long time. It was a long, long time ago. Back when I was probably like 18 or 19. I remember. I think someone couldn't make it to shoot the Shins. Do you remember the band The Shins?
I don't
They were like an indie, like kind of big indie band around that like indie era. But they were playing at the Horden and they were like, oh, we have our photographers pulled out. Can you come in and shoot? And I was like, yeah, sure. I think I'd shot like a couple for like a publication at the Horden and I'd met the marketing manager there or something. So I ended up doing the Shins and they were like, cool, we're going to keep you on the books for the future. So like years passed and then I just got like a random message from someone being like,
just got another subscriber. Sorry,
yes.
It's just happening. Oh my god! I don't know. I think we are hype. I think we are hit 100%. Oh my god, it's all happening. Sorry, there's like a lot happening, and I just keep.
We can't stop the train.
Because
the train's coming.
I've been hosted as well. Skoda Milch, I think, is hosting the channel as well, which is awesome. Thank you so much for hosting. They host my stream on their channel, which is really cool.
So their viewers come and see.
Thank you, Emma, for subscribing, you legend. So yes, keep going.
Yeah. And so like years passed, and then I randomly got an email from the marketing manager there now, who's like the nicest person in the world, and the team at the Horden are the best. Like they're just the best people to work for. But she was like, hey, we've got you on our books. Like, can you come and cover this show? So I ended up doing. I can't remember what show it was. It was a long time ago. They all kind of blur into one epic night because the Horden is the best venue. Like, because it's like one of the big. It's kind of like what's the equivalent in Melbourne? Probably the Horden?
Festival Hall, maybe. I
Festival,
think. Yeah,
Festival
I feel like
Hall.
Horden's like it's about 5,000. Is it? It's Festival Hall. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're kind of always getting those really cool artists who are like high production values and really nice lighting, and there's usually like production.
Yes.
It's really cool. So
we shot Rule together at the Horden.
Yeah.
It was such a good show.
Yeah, that's some there's probably people in the chat right now who we've shot some iconic shows of the Horden. We shot Billie Eilish there last year.
I've got a really good question actually from Amir. I think it's Amir. Would love to hear how you guys achieve financial freedom as a creative, coming from someone who works in finance and is married to a creative. That's a really good question, and I get asked that a lot.
Yes.
So, do you want to talk about your experience?
Look, to be honest, I found that I chose to being doing creative work a long time ago. So I kind of was told early on by a lot of people that you kind of get told by people in your life, oh, get ready to be poor for the rest of your life. And to be honest, it's not something that I'm super worried about. As long as I'm doing what I love and I can live and eat and fund my life essentially, I'm not too fussed about the money side of it. But at the same time, there is a way. And that's another thing actually that when I saw that question from Shelley, that's another thing that I wish I could have told myself when I was younger is learn the business side of it, learn all the little things that no one kind of tells you about freelancing as a sole trader, things like tax, things like how to communicate with an accountant. Those are all things that I wish I had known when I was younger, and I kind of wish they even taught us in high school even, which would be amazing if there was school to talk about the different kinds of employment.
Yeah, totally. That was not even. I mean, I went to school a long time ago, but they definitely did not teach us anything about freelancing life or being an artist or creative or finance or any of that stuff. All the stuff I had to learn.
Yeah, I kind of. So in saying that, I think it took me a good 5 or 6 years to finally be able to just do what we do, which is I'm sure you can relate. You're kind of always working for a long time. For me, it was doing graphic design. So I'd be shooting shows and working my photography work around my graphic design job, which was my stable income.
Yeah.
And it was like that for a long time, probably 6 or 7 years. And I know for you did a whole bunch of random jobs, right? Even as you were just getting into photography.
No, actually, I actually went professional really quickly, within 6 months.
Oh, true.
Yeah, I had a part-time job with a photographer working 2 days a week. Doing some admin stuff for about the first year or so. Mm-hmm. And then my work actually overtook it enough that I was kind of getting too much work to do that. I'm in a really weird, I think, fortunate position. I was shooting weddings at the start, which did subsidize a lot of my work originally. But my goal was always to shoot 100% music. And it's like, 99.9% music now. I'm really fortunate. I had a goal a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, that I reached, which was like a financial goal that was in my head, which was a figure that I had earned when I was working a corporate job. And I always thought if I could reach that particular goal that was the same as when I had this like high paying corporate job, that I felt like, I'd done really well. And I just worked my ass off, to be honest. So I think I'm in a really fortunate position now, but this is 10 years of groundwork, it's like
100%. And it's like, and it's a lot of it as well. A lot of like, I'll have like people who are just starting out and they're like, why am I not advancing? Like, why am I not booking new jobs? And I'm like, one thing that's common amongst all the people that you kind of work.
Sorry, there's a hype train happening. I just needed to choo choo.
You got to throw that choo choo in there.
Choo choo. And Leonardo cheered as well. It's all happening. Keep going. That's it. You've got your spook. Really important. What you're talking about right now.
What was I talking about? The train came through.
The train came through.
That train came through and totally derailed my train of.
Definitely. I guess the finance stuff when you're first starting out was that.
Oh yeah, like people will say to me like I feel like I'm not advancing and stuff, and I was like, and I always want to kind of say like, look at all the people who are working in music regularly, and like that's like years of groundwork. That's kind of like
another subscriber.
Yeah.
There needs to be a symbol. I think when I'm clapping, there's exciting things happening. Simone subscribed.
Yes!
I just updated my the tally subscriber goal is now updating. I'm 5 away from my monthly goal, which is really exciting. We can do this, guys. We can get there.
It's gonna happen tonight.
It's gonna happen tonight. Oh my god, you guys are the best. Yes. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. Like this is so rude.
The train is coming.
The hype train is coming. There's a question I wanted to ask you about your. I think did we actually finish that? Did we finish the financial stuff? Like, because it is really important. It is a question we get asked all the time. So I do want to spend enough time on that.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, it's kind of, a lot of people kind of get frustrated and they're like, why am I not, like, growing and booking more paid work and stuff? And I'm like, because it's kind of like, if you look at everyone who's working regularly, that's, like, 5 or 6 years of just, like, slogging it out around work, sacrifice. Slogging, yeah. And, like, anyone who you work with knows, like, anyone who I work with at the festival has, like, been slowly building, like, bit by bit, like, constantly over the years. And so it's, like, it takes a lot of determination to get to that place where you can be financially dependent on something like what we do.
Yeah, I agree.
And like I feel like only this year was the first year where I was going, which like sadly also coincided with Corona, but it was the first year that I was actually going full-time music. Yeah, and Dara just said it took him 8 years to go full-time music photography. It takes
a while, absolutely.
It takes groundwork, yeah.
Yeah, totally. And it's definitely, like I always say to people, like it is definitely the hardest avenue out of all of the photography avenues is music photography. But I do like to inspire people to know, like, it is actually possible, especially, like, I'm really big about putting value on our work, about charging, all of those things, like trying to mentor in that space, because a lot of people think, oh, bands just don't pay. And I just, like, it's not true. Like, bands will pay you if you value yourself and you set a standard, or everybody sets a standard that there is a fee. Like there is a fee to, oh my God, Jazz Meadow just subscribed. Woo! Confetti! We're so close.
Handing out tier 1 subs.
Oh my God, this is amazing. Oh yes, he is. Oh my God, what is happening? No, Leo is just like gifting. He's so generous. He's gifting like 5 people. Dara, it's Sammy, Amberly, Ash. Oh my God, I think...
Leo, Michelle?
I don't know, I don't think so. What is going on?
The most talented dude I've ever worked with in my whole life. He shoots with like Hermitude.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, he does a lot of the festivals.
Oh my god! So all that's happening right now is that there's this like celebrations, and I think I've reached my goal. So I might cry. Leo, Gab's just gifted this.
So
It's all happening tonight. Oh my god! Thank you. There's so much. Like, this is the best community. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is going crazy.
so good, mate. Honestly, with the amount of work you put into the stream, mate.
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. And Aaron, my God, the amount of work and hours that Aaron has put into this stream to help me get it to this point. Oh, you guys rock. Honestly, this is so incredible. What a friggin' amazing, amazing, amazing night. This might beat the other night, which was amazing. It's like, oh, thanks, Leonardo. That's friggin' awesome. You bloody rock. And everybody else, I've just hit 50 apparently. My God, I think it's not updating yet, but it's okay. It will. I really want to get onto a question that came from Gabs actually. You've obviously shot, and I'm still scrolling through your work, by the way. So I just picked a few shows to go through. We're going to get into some specific photos soon, which is going to be really fun. Gabs has asked, it must be really hard with your particular folio, but have you got a standout favorite show ever that like is front of mind for you?
Yeah, I saw this question.
Yeah.
I think it's so hard, but I think one of the ones that I will always remember, and I posted about it a couple of weeks ago. It was there was this little known indie artist called Post Malone. I don't know if you've heard of him. It's kind of taken over the world recently. Well, basically for like the last 3 albums, it's just been massive.
Yeah.
But his first time here, he toured with Diplo. So he was like kind of just breaking, but he had a real like cult following. So he played Max Watt's House of Music in Sydney.
Yep.
And I just remember that show. I've just never really, there's probably only like, I can count on two hands how many shows I've felt where there's just that insane energy where everyone knows every single word, everyone is like completely into the moment, and like the artist is just losing their shit on stage.
Yeah.
And it was one of the nights where you're like in the pit and you honestly are like, I need to be shooting right now, but also there's drinks flying everywhere. There's like people smoking ciggies in the venue. There's like, it was absolute madness. Like I've never seen a show like it. And then afterwards as well, Posty and like his tour team all in the dressing room just like rocking out to like classic pop punk.
Oh,
and, like,
that's so cool. That's
so
so
it was
cool.
like, it was just, yeah, and like Gab said, me it's 1975, because I was at that show with Gab, and I just the energy, like it's undescribable. Like when it's just a perfect night of shooting, like everything goes right,
Yep.
security are nice, like everything's chaotic, but in the
when that
best.
happens.
It was just one of those nights, and then like afterwards we were like taking photos in the dressing room, and like Posty was like bagging out my Australian accent, and it was just the funniest night. And like one of those nights where you walk away from the venue and you're like, did that just happen? Like, and also it kind of got sweeter and sweeter as Posty got bigger, and then he comes back and tours
Yep.
3 sold out arenas, which is insane.
Sophia just asked a question. She said, I was literally just going to ask about what energy do you feel when shooting? And I've spoken about this before. It actually sometimes makes me emotional, but there's a real, I actually feel like an energy thief sometimes. Like there's when you're either in the
That's a really good way to put it.
yeah, like you're either in the pit or potentially side of stage, and you're feeling the energy that is for the artist that you're shooting with, and it's not for you, but you're feeling it, and it's really overwhelming, and it has definitely brought me to tears before. So
you're like in this weird moat between like the artist and the fans who are like screaming and crying, and it's just like, and they're having the best time of their life, and that's kind of like what they're living for, and it's like and you get a kind of a front row view of that crazy connection, so it's hard to not feel it.
It's such a privileged position, and one that I don't take for granted at any second. Dan's is saying he still gets butterfly when lights go down for the first 3 when he's shooting. There's been some moments, mostly with Rule, but vividly remember very strong emotions and have got emotional with particular moments. So because of the love that the crowd's shown, or just before, I remember just before the Horton show, I was like literally nearly in tears. Like I was so nervous, and Joel and I don't really get nervous before that many shows anymore, but that one was the biggest show that Rule had done to date. I mean, he's done bigger ones now, but
you've been with him for so long now. Like you've seen him grow.
It's the progression, like going from like the first show that I shot of his was a show that he did with M Phases at Section 8, where there was about 30 people.
Yeah.
So to see the, sold out Horden Pavilion, it can get a bit emotional.
Yeah, I remember seeing you afterwards, giving you a big hug, and you were just like, "I'm sorry, I don't even know what I'm saying or doing. I'm just so overwhelmed."
I know, I was
and I was
so
like,
overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed. Well, that's a good segue into us. I think that was the first time we shot together, but we also shot together at Laneway, and I want to show you some of those photos. But the 1975 ones, but it was pouring rain at that festival.
Oh my goodness! Possibly the worst rain I've ever shot in. I think it was up there. It was a challenging one.
It was a really challenging one, yeah.
In a really fun way.
Do you remember us being in the pit and looking at each other, going? First of all, I'd like the mirrorless recently, so I was really nervous about if it was waterproof, because because I'm like so not tech savvy, and I don't look through all the specs or anything. I had no idea. I looked it up like the day later, and it's like, yeah, you can shoot with this camera for 2 hours in the rain. But I was like trying to protect it and like trying to shoot through a plastic bag, and there was like pouring rain down the sides, and but we got there. I felt for you guys because we only had to shoot one set. You had to shoot the whole.
Yeah. Well, the torrential downpour came just like right before Rule. I think it was during or right before Rule.
Like as soon as he walked on, basically it was torrential rain. But it also.
I just remember sprinting to the stage, and I remember running into you backstage, and we were all just like, "What the hell is going on?" Like it's pissing down rain.
Yeah, totally. And Gabs just said the 1975 set is one of her favourite shows she's ever shot with the crew. So I'm just showing that your photos from Laneway as well.
Ah, sick.
Yeah, do you have fond memories of that particular show as well?
Yeah, just because it was kind of like I was shooting with Dan. Dan.
Ah, Down Bad, yeah. Legend.
One of my heroes.
He's such a legend. I want to get him on one night as well. He's so
yeah,
cool.
he would be great.
Yeah.
But shooting with him and with Billy Zammit and Raiden Smith.
Billy.
So it was just a really like tough. I wouldn't say tough is the wrong word, but it was kind of like it was hard to know when to go out because it was like you could leave the media room and then there would just be torrential rain for like 10 minutes and then it would just be nothing.
Yeah.
And then you would just be like, oh, I don't know whether to go out because I don't feel like I'm just going to get caught in it. And then like, is my gear going to be okay? So it was kind of like this fun little Russian roulette of like running to a certain stage and just trying to find cover.
Yeah. And
like, we were all kind of feeling it. And I was especially feeling it for the media photographers as well because they were all just like stuck out in the rain.
Yeah, but, I definitely feel it for those photographers that are stuck out there. I guess now because I don't shoot festivals anymore, I'm just like, you just get in to do the one set and then leave and hang out for the rest of the show, which is really fun. Gab said there was no cover, ankle deep in mud. Bode, he's a goat. He's an absolute legend. Shelley's saying that rain can be fun. It absolutely. I mean, I found it was fun, just challenging.
Yeah. It's different.
Yeah.
I mean, so when the 1975 started playing, the stage was still drenched, and like kind of, it was kind of only really all the fans who had to kind of brave the rain and who were there to see the 1975. And also Maddie had been sick, so like everyone was kind of a little bit unsure of what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then he comes out on stage in like a hospital gown.
Yeah, I'll go back to those photos again.
And it was honestly
I'm showing it on screen now.
It was an iconic moment, and I kind of felt really lucky to be there. And like Dan and I just looked at each other in the pit, and we're like, "Holy shit! Like, what is he doing?" Like,
I love those moments though. He's like, he's a bit eccentric like that, which is awesome. And these photographs really show both the rain and the passion that he does, when he performs as well.
Yeah.
So.
But he was just like throwing himself on the stage, like writhing around, and he was just rolling around in the water, like just completely lost in the performance. So it just made for really cool shots, and it was just one of those shows where you kind of never really forget it.
Yeah.
It was probably the coolest like rain moment I've ever had. That's for sure.
Shelley was saying they didn't get to shoot 1975 in Auckland, unfortunately, there was some type of
Yeah.
weird thing that happened. So it was a bit of a bummer for them, which is, yeah.
I feel like it kind of really, there's a lot of factors that can affect, I feel like.
Yeah, I actually really love.
shoot.
Actually, can we talk about this? Because this is something that I'm quite passionate about, actually. Because I think it's a little. I'm going to show some of your 1975 photos while we're talking about this from your website, which is a different show. It's not the Laneway one.
Yeah, that was the headline.
The headline show, yeah. When I guess I understand how disappointing it is for photographers when they're told they can't shoot something last minute. But also the flip side, I think, because I work so closely with artists, is understanding why that happens. Often there's a reason that it could be a myriad of reasons. But I'm really, really passionate about like respecting the wishes of the artists.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I always try to put myself in the shoes of the artist, and I think sometimes, for example, I remember that when Florence was touring here, she played River Stage in Brisbane, and that stage, like shooting events at River Stage, like that stage is low. Like it's basically it's a very low stage where the artist is essentially like nearly eye line level with the crowd, and it's a very I can't imagine like an artist being able to focus when there's just like 20 plus photographers clicking away at eye level.
Yeah.
Like I just can't really fully understand. I kind of in that situation, I just try to have empathy and be like, okay, well, if I was performing, if I was trying to do my job, and like my job is to connect with these people who have paid to see me, who are like expecting an experience, like I fully understand why there's restrictions and stuff. But at the same time, like I totally understand how disappointing it is because we've all been there.
Absolutely,
like,
I totally get it.
Like, shit, I can't even shoot this artist that I'm basically holding.
And maybe you were just shooting the festival for that artist, and it's like such a huge disappointment. But I have such empathy for artists in that situation and management, because it's like it's very rare that they just cancel photographers for no reason. Like there is always a pretty valid reason why it's happened, and it could be something like, you know, the most minuscule thing that the artist is not feeling or whatever, but I like really strongly feel like respecting the wishes in those situations, and just like not trying to get too upset, because you know sometimes I see people post on social media that they're really upset, and I get it. It's not that I don't understand it. I just feel like there is always, usually it's not just like, oh, you know, PR are being assholes or management are being assholes, or it's usually for a particular reason. I also have known things like, you know, they might have done a show in a different state or something, and potentially like really all this really unflattering photos have happened, and you know, like you've got to think about what that would feel like to see a really shitty photo of yourself. And that's not to say that as your photographer, because you don't think that you're going to be the person that does that, but I've heard that so many times. Like I can't tell you, because you know I am working for Artists Direct usually, and they're just like, I can't believe this. Why? Like, so I've had someone show me photos before and go, why is this person posting these photos of me? Like asking about other photographers, and I'm like, I don't know how to answer that. So it's just having that empathy. They're human, and
that's exactly what I was going to say. I feel like a lot of the time the trade-off of being a successful artist is that people just kind of detach like a little bit of humanity from you. And I feel like for someone, for example, like Billie Eilish or for Rule, like there's like a serious like energy that they have to give off every time they get on stage, every time they talk to fans, every time they do a meet and greet. And sometimes I'm just like, how do these artists like get up every morning and do this and do a whole day of press and then play a show? And it's just, I can't imagine how exhausting that is, like socially, especially if the artist is introverted, like behind closed doors. I don't know, I feel like a lot of the time, like obviously fans expect a great experience, but it's like
it's a lot.
At the same time, we're human beings, and especially for someone like Rule, who's so young as well. He's so good at it though.
He's really good at it. I totally agree. He's an alien. We've already discussed that here. But Gabs and Ruby had a really great comment. They're saying that I try and judge it. If I wouldn't want it posted of me, then I don't post it. I do exactly the same thing. That's a really great advice from those girls. Like, if it's something that you even think, ooh, like it's a great shot, but it's not like as flattering. Yeah, really, really consider whether that's something that you would like posted. That's absolutely great advice. Yeah, so good.
Yeah, well, that person might be in a really cool jump shot position, but their face is like it says, it's hard.
So hard, yeah. But
you're kind of also making a decision with no input from the artist unless you have direct contact with the artist.
Yeah, totally.
Which is like also another thing is like a lot of the artists end up like asking for approvals, which also is as much of it as it is an extra step. It's also kind of like a relief for us because the work that you're putting out for this artist, they actually like it and they're okay with it.
We've spoken about this before, I think, when we've been working direct for an artist that's come, say, from internationally, and everyone else has posted their photos and we can't post them because we're waiting for approval. Yeah. It's so frustrating. You're like, but I totally get it, and you're right. You know that they're totally happy with it and there's going to be no issues, but it's that waiting when every other person in the country has posted their photos and you're like, what?
Yeah. Well, it's also another thing as well, is something that I learnt more and more as I'm working, is that not everyone thinks the way that people in our community think, like the way that they think about content and the way that they think about like the immediacy of content. It's quite different. Like we have this understanding that these photos need to go out this time to get people interested. Yeah. These people, like, this content stays fresh for 10 hours.
Yeah, and that's it. Everyone's forgotten about it.
Like an artist manager doesn't care about that. They just care about their artist and getting the sub they need on their.
It's a totally different perspective. Yeah.
Everyone's kind of doing their own thing. So you kind of just need to remember that managers and anyone else you work with or you come into contact with when you're working in music, they all have their own responsibilities, their own schedules, their own things going on. Sometimes that's more important than us getting some internet clout, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and it is actually like, I mean, I know from touring, it's like literally the last thing that they think about is who are the approved photographers for tonight and where's it. Like, I take over it on tour, so I know that the people are looked after because there's so many million other things to do. I just make sure that the list is done and the people that have spoken to PR or whatever get there and then, give them an update on what's happening and when there's stuff, confetti going off or whatever.
Yeah, everyone's human and we need to have a little bit of empathy for like that. Like, everything's not always going to go right. Sometimes you're going to get left off the media list. And it's like something that we can fix up, no problem.
Yeah,
and I feel like
totally.
People kind of like will sometimes turn up to a venue and they're kind of like looking to be disappointed, but I'm like, but let's kind of lead with just like keep it chill. Think about how everyone's busy and everyone's trying to run the best possible show. So let's just all work together and put some kick-ass live music when we can again.
Yeah, Gabs just reminded me of when I had to get their passes for the Opera House because they weren't touched. And that definitely happened. I think Shelley's leaving. I think Katie had to bounce as well. So thanks for popping in. We've still got so many more questions. I'm so excited. We're going to look through some of your favourite. We spoke about the Laneway one. Wanted to talk about the Post Malone. Oh no, you kind of mentioned the Post Malone. Have I got that?
Yeah, I posted some a little behind stuff.
Yeah. So this was the shoot that you were saying was one of your favourite ever. Did you go back and re-edit this, by the way? Was that? Yeah, I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah, how when you go back and you're like, oh, what was I doing?
Oh,
yes. I definitely had that kind of experience because it was 2017. So. Like, I'm like, why did I think that was a nice way to crop that image?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
You kind of like, you realize how it's kind of a nice little perspective reminder that you've actually done a little bit, hopefully.
I looking at the shoey shot, it actually makes me want to gag when I see people do shoeys. Like, and
it's gross,
oh my God, it is so gross. But, yes, Aaron's just saying these photos are legit. These behind the scene moments are really beautiful. These are they're my favourite to shoot. Those really the moments that like fly on the wall stuff. Nobody gets to see those types of moments, so they're really special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And also I feel like that's that whole idea of being able to do that is a whole other skill that kind of isn't talked about a lot, I feel, with with like behind the scenes photography.
Yes.
Like being knowing the right moments to kind of step in and take a photo, instead of kind of like getting in the way of the artist. So for example, if they're hanging out with people, they don't want a camera in their face. They want you to be there as like present in the moment. So you kind of have to be socially aware, but also be getting the shots, which is like actually so challenging.
I've spoken about the like emotional intelligence that comes into what we do, and I feel like you've really touched on that. Like you can sense, I think, or even sometimes it is just asking, are you cool for me to step in? And just knowing, like, they will tell you, and if you get a look or whatever, like, back the fuck out. Like, having respect for artists in those moments, like, or if you do need to step in, be really quick and then step out. All those types of skills will mean that you can get the shot as well as not encroach on their like personal space as well. So
yeah, the artist and the manager and the whole team just wants to feel comfortable around you, and that's what should come first before getting the shot.
Completely
and then
agree.
Honestly, when you put that first, I feel like you get better shots anyway. So because the artist trusts you enough to like actually pose for you instead of just like giving you dirties out of the side of their eye, which like I feel like works to just watch the manager, like watch the TM.
Oh my god, that's such a good yes.
If they're kind of giving you the vibe, like get out of there. Get away. Get away.
Yes.
Like go to the bathroom for a little bit. If you're not required there, if you're not meant to be there, and you're not meant to be there, like definitely try and read the room. Be like, okay, this is obviously a moment that they want to themselves.
Yeah, it's such a good tip, and it's a really good one specifically for when you're not on a team and you're working with the artist for the first time. Generally, it'll be an international artist and probably a larger name, and you have to suss the vibe really quickly. And it's both the most exciting and nerve-wracking thing ever is trying to suss the vibe.
And people say, like when they start working in like those kind of situations where you're backstage and stuff, and it's like people say to me like, oh, is it always the awkward? And I'm like, most of the time it is kind of awkward, yeah. And you have to kind of figure out, you kind of have to push through it and just like
definitely reading. I had to when I shot for Miguel the last time he came, I had two really different experiences for two different shows. So I did the Melbourne and then the Splendor. And the vibe when I went in at the Melbourne run was just, I could feel it. There was something off. I don't know if he wasn't feeling very well, or I could just tell, like I wasn't able to do much backstage. Even though I actually got one of my favourite shots, which was in a lift when we went to do meet and greets. Yeah, I love that shot too. But like, it took a while for him to like warm up, and then he was like fine. But then when I went to Splendor with them as well. And the vibe was totally different. It was almost like a familiarity and a trust, and it was such an amazing experience and really felt welcome and part of the crew. And sometimes it does take a few shows to build up that rapport and stuff. So
yeah, you're entering into these environments which are quite sacred for these people, and I think it's important to respect that, and also like just try and pick up cues, try and pick up social cues. If the tour manager's like, oh. Even if like a lot of artists I've noticed, they kind of take like 10 minutes before a show to themselves, and they'll go into their dressing room, like don't disturb that. Yeah. Unless their team has specifically said they want photos of that moment. Yeah. Like you kind of try and respect their space.
Absolutely. Like
use a lens where you can shoot from far away with it, and like put your camera on silent shooting mode.
Hard agree with that.
Yeah. And it never gets completely easy, and anyone who says that it's always easy is lying to you.
Totally lying. We're constantly social checking. Social checking. Absolutely.
Forget social distancing. You got to social check that.
I'm just pulling up some other shots that there's a choice one. Who did I see pop up before? Ghetto Potato. What up? They said a king and queen casually dropping gold on the stream. So that's lovely. That's a nice comment.
I'll have some gold. I need all the gold right now.
Gab said Lewis Capaldi was the most welcoming person earlier this year. That's really lovely to hear. It's always great when artists it's not expected, but it's always lovely when that happens. Especially on big tours. Like Lewis has been touring a lot, so he would have seen a lot of photographers in his time. And
he seems so good on
social media. I know.
Just like this average lad who just became massive.
Yes.
With like this crazy voice.
Yes. Sophia's asked, do you ever freeze up when you're meeting artists?
I mean, freeze up would probably be the wrong word, but there's definitely shows where I've walked away where I'm like, I don't really feel like that. I was like, I don't, you kind of don't walk away feeling super confident.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, which I'm sure you've had the same experience.
Totally.
Like every photographer has those days. But I mean, but most of the time, like you're just there to do a job, and you, as long as the work is good. But I mean, also on the flip side of that coin, I've walked away from shows where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like anyone liked me in that room. And then like the next week they'll be like, hey, we're playing this show. Can you come shoot this one as well?
Yeah.
Or the manager, or their manager will hit you up for another one of their artists, and they're like, oh.
Yeah.
So maybe it was just all in my head.
Yeah.
And I'm overthinking this. So it's hard to know like what's you kind of like overthinking things and like an actual vibe in the room.
Totally.
If they ask you back, that usually means that they're happy with you.
Yeah. I personally don't freeze up, like in terms of physically meeting people. What you were saying in terms of not knowing if you've nailed, like that happens all the time, but there isn't like, it doesn't really matter who the artist is now. I am just like have my professional head on, and it's just like do the job.
You kind of go to this weird like autopilot.
Yeah. It's like it's even if I'm the biggest fan of that artist, I would never let on and not talk about their music or anything. It's just like, I'm here to do a job. Not to say that you can't be friendly, but it's just like, you're definitely not fanning over that. I mean, they get approached by fans all the time. The last thing they want to do is, if they're backstage or in their dressing room, talk to another fan. Like, that's a safe space. So it's just like,
get away.
they just want to chill. So like, just being really cool and just not fanning out is... Yeah.
So for everyone here who struggles with that, it's so normal. And like,
yeah, you just keep it in. Like, I could be fanning it on the inside. Like, oh my god, I'm shooting Miguel in a lift. Like, holy shit, this is.
There's certain artists here, like for example, at I was talking to you about this today, but at Firefight, it was like the bushfire relief.
I'm gonna bring that up because it's a good segue into that. So yeah.
Look at that segue, bull. We kind of didn't really like, we obviously had a plan and everything, and we had a brief, and we were handing in live edits as each artist performed.
Oh, just to take a step back, for those who don't know what this gig was, Firefight was to raise funds for the bushfires, and it was like a huge arena show, like probably one of the biggest shows we've had in Australia before.
Astoundingly big.
And live television broadcast, the whole broadcast, all I did was look for Jordan so I could take photos of him and then send it to him in his DMs. So.
And then I just pop up at the bottom of the screen just like...
Yeah. So you got to photograph artists like Queen, which is the ones we're looking at the moment, which is phenomenal. I mean, this is like dream job.
My dad was like, he just trained me to love Queen, so like he's just the biggest fan. So it was just like a bit of a pinch myself moment. But as like what we were saying there about like being like internally starstruck is that at some points, like I was shooting with Jess Gleason, who's like one of our like one people we both work.
She's coming on the stream very soon, by the way, Jess.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, that'd be great. And I was shooting with Jared Leibowitz, so one of my other really good mates. But we would just like there was like a media coordinator who was kind of just getting the A-OK for us to come up on stage and shoot for a few songs. And so they were like, who wants to go up to John Farnham's set? And I was like, okay. I just happened to be at the media room, so I went up. And it just turned into this like crazy performance where like Olivia Newton-John was there, and then I'm like trying to get into a spot because we're also trying to avoid the TV broadcast cameras, so we're like trying to be as stealthy as possible. And then I come around the corner behind a speaker amp, and I literally nearly collide with like this really tall man with curly hair. And I look over and it's Brian May. I like really had Brian May. So that was.
He's on the screen right now, so it's great that you spoke about him. That's so cool.
Yeah. So like Brian's just standing side of stage waiting to shred with John Farnham, and I'm just like nearly headbutting him. And that was one of those moments where I'm like, oh, is this actually happening? But you go into like this weird autopilot mode, which is what we were talking about.
Yeah, totally.
So it's like kind of just like it's this weird adrenaline. I feel like it's mostly adrenaline, and you kind of just you're working so hard to get what you need to get that you don't even really think about anything else.
Absolutely. Gabs has said similar to our run-in with Kevin Parker.
Oh yeah. When we were at the Gold Bar at Splendor and Kevin was out there having a bevo. And all the photographers were like waiting to be taken to the main stage, and he's just like standing in the middle of all the photographers.
Yeah.
and everyone's like, like no one how to act. So funny.
Yeah, Marcus made a comment about photographers being introverts by nature. I think that is generally the case. I definitely don't fit that mold, but my experience with most photographers are that they're quite introverted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like when I go into this topic with people, I talk about kind of how I'm like a secret introvert. So for my job, I know that being an introvert is not like being completely introverted isn't going to work for me. So I kind of like have trained myself to be an extrovert in social situations. But the way I recharge is spending time at home by myself.
Yeah.
So like there'll be times where I will be extroverted and it's kind of like my work mode. And then when I'm at home, it's very like keeping to myself. But everyone's different. And I feel like it's more about the way you recharge, whether you recharge with people or without people.
Yeah, I recharge with people, definitely.
Yeah.
That's how I get my energy.
For example, after we shoot after we do a tour or we do like Splendor or like Spilt Milk or something, I'll just come home and just like spend 2 days by myself.
Yeah.
Because I was with people for like 4 years straight.
Yeah, my husband jokes about it because he definitely likes to be by himself if he can. And I'm like the opposite. I'm just like, I always need...
You're like, hey,
I'm like, wait, what are you doing? Where are my friends? Can I have FaceTime? So this time's been quite challenging for me. I haven't been able to go out as much, and but I've actually learned to embrace it. So it's been great. I had a really great question from Maggie London, who is a huge fan of your work, and Maggie's the best. I'm not sure if she's on the stream, but she might watch it back, and she's such a legend.
She's in New York.
She's in New York. It's like 2 a.m. or something. But she said she's an absolute huge fan of your work, and she wanted to know how you approached composition because she feels like it's quite unique. Is that a thought process that is front of mind, or is that just an intuitive thing for you?
Yeah, probably too much, to be honest. It's a little bit like excessive. Yeah.
Cool. That's great.
I'm a very like everything needs to be in the center kind of guy, but at the same time, like that's not like a rigid rule for me. But it's like I remember Mickey Gomez. Do you know Mickey?
Yeah. Mickey's great. Yeah. She's from Sydney, isn't she? I actually don't think I've met her in real life before, but
I haven't actually seen her. Yeah. But she was telling me like. She commented on one of my Instagrams and was like, "Oh, I like how everything that you post lines up perfectly," and I'm like, "Thank you," because like that's something that I actually obsess over, probably like way too much in a way that I'm the only one who really notices. But to know that Mickey noticed that, I was like,
"That's really cool."
It's worth all the obsessing over grids in Photoshop.
Yes, if for one person to notice it, I know Mickey is the best. There's lots of love for Mickey coming in the stream, which is cool. She's a legend. And Mags has said, I just realised that you have 51 subs. That's awesome. We met the goal. Hey. It's updated. That's very exciting. Community of love. I feel like that this, like the sub train started the day that you joined the stream. So I feel like that you're responsible for this. You are driving the train. And now I've got to try and keep it up every month, which is like going to be impossible. But for the first month, it's great. So there's a great shot that I'm showing at the moment, which is from the Elenium gig, and it's a confetti shot, and I know that everyone calls you the confetti king. Do you have a secret to the confetti shot? Is there something about the way that you expose those shots to nail it? Because you do seem to nail it frequently.
Well, I think there's like this is just like things that I'm still like, there's still times where I walk away from a show and I'm like, oh, I didn't nail that. And that's what we're talking about before with the whole growth thing. But it's like, for me, the things that I've learned from like shooting a million shows like that Elenium show, not a million, like a lot of like EDM style shows, production, like with Rule as well, he has quite a bit of production too.
He does now, like, yeah, it's cool, so fun to shoot.
That's funny.
Yeah.
With shows like that, little things I've learned is, for me, it's like if it's you obviously don't have to go this far, but for me, if I know that the show is going to be special, like a show like Elenium, I'll look up the tour on YouTube. Yep. So I will watch like a YouTube video of the tour, because generally, like when an artist brings their tour to Australia or wherever you're shooting, it generally stays kind of the same. Like so, especially with things like production and stuff, where it's a lot more like rigid because they kind of have to organize it with the production companies in the country.
Yes.
They're playing.
Yep.
it's kind of like, it's always very similar and similar cues and stuff like that. So you can watch the YouTube sets and get an idea of what you want to capture and how you want to capture it and where you need to be. Just literally off even like fan cams, like people just post a video from the show and you can be like, okay, so in the third song, he gets up on the decks and confetti fires on the third drop.
Yep.
So you can kind of learn that. And then another cool thing as well is to go and introduce yourself to the production manager or whoever's in charge of the show.
Yeah.
And just be like, hey, one, like, how can I annoy you the least? Like, is there places where you don't want me to be? Is there like places where I will annoy you because I want tonight to work? And if you just approach it in a way, like in a positive kind of, like humble way, where you're like, because the most annoying thing for those people is a photographer who thinks they run the show, like, and thinks that they're like king shit, which like is the energy that like I know people like you and like I know myself and like a lot of people we work with, we're trying to diffuse that king shit. And so like I'll always try and go to the production manager and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
Am I okay to go on stage? Is there any way you don't want me to be? And then usually that's a good time to also be like, is there any cues that I should be ready for? And then usually they want good photos too, so they're going to tell you everything about the show. And sometimes if they're really cool, they'll give you a set list.
That's the
so then you get a
best
set list.
when that happens.
Yeah. And then you can kind of figure out exactly where you need to be for those moments. So usually for confetti, it's like, I kind of noticed that the closer you are to the cannons, you're probably going to get better shots. And even just like taking a few test shots before you know it's going to fall. And just making sure that that your aperture is a little bit more open, so that you're still getting the light, but that you're not going to miss focus.
Yep.
So you're not going to get like a piece of confetti in focus and the artist like out of focus, which is like possibly the number one way to like to get a confetti shot fail.
Yep.
And also just shooting on high speed continuous, so you can pull like the perfect moment.
Yep.
Because you might get someone in the crowd who just throws their arm up and it's just blocking your camera.
In front of the shot, yes.
Yeah. So
and just
it's
firing
like,
off a bunch in that moment.
Yeah. It's more about giving yourself the best chance to get the moment.
Yes. Yeah, because I definitely think when people start out, they don't, like, they think that potentially that's just one shot, but sometimes it's a numbers game. It's like
sometimes it's a nice little gift.
Like, it's a gift.
In your life.
You've got 6 or 7 photos of the same thing and one's money, which is so you're just dropping so much knowledge tonight. It's really great. I did see a great comment before. Let me scroll back. Where was it? Where is it? Oh, Nathan Carroll said that you're the CEO of composition, which I think is such a good comment. And Megan was saying it's a graphic designer thing to love grids and evenness, like, for sure. I totally understand that.
To the point where I will be like ready. I'll be on the last page of Instagram ready to post something.
Yeah.
And then I'll just notice like one little thing, and I'm like, no, gotta go redo the whole post, and I'll like close it all and just like re-edit it all in Photoshop.
Gabs has said she gets the confetti shots when her friends put her on their shoulders.
Yeah, or just like a random cooked person.
Yeah, just a Amber Lee has asked, what's your favourite show to shoot in terms of cool lighting, and then also your most difficult show? Most difficult show is a really good question, actually. We don't get asked that as much.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain like, especially if it's I've noticed like a lot of hip hop artists will tour in Australia, and it's because it's usually when they're on the come up, and it's usually one of their first tours here. Like, it's probably one of their first international tours, and because of that, they're still kind of like building their show, and they're building their lighting, and they're building what they want to be live and stuff, and they're building their team. So a lot of the time you'll just get like house lights for an artist, like quite simple, which like kind of a lot of the time is, as you like every photographer knows, like it's hard to shoot artists that move fast in the dark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very.
So I think shows like that, like difficult shows, like have been just like kind of hip hop artists who are kind of on the come up, but are still big enough to play somewhere like the Metro Theatre or like the Forum, and they're still kind of like putting together their show. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard because there's no lighting there. But at the same time, like production is getting so good that it's like hard really to complain, because a lot of the shows that we shoot now are pretty beautifully lit.
Yeah, and we are spoiled after a little while, aren't we? You start, yeah. I mean, although when I was on tour with Rule on the last tour, shooting smaller venues again in America and Europe definitely tested me out. I had to get the old wheels back on doing the smaller shows with not amazing lighting. And then, when we're in Australia, it's like the best production in the world and just super easy to shoot. You can shoot it with your eyes closed. But I actually like those smaller shows that really challenge me now, though. They're fun because I get like, oh shit, what am I going to get out of this venue? Like,
yeah, it's nice to switch it up. I mean, like, even shooting a lot of events, like more eventy stuff, like away from music. You kind of, I know, for example, like when we did Vivid last year, there was like these studio parties, and it was all just like, it was heavy lasers in like a pitch black room with lots of smoke. And so like, I love that visually, but shooting that is actually really challenging. And like, I was lucky enough to have 3 nights in a row shooting in there. But you kind of like learn little tricks of how to shoot like difficult lighting, like whether it's bringing in a tripod, just like holding your breath, things like what settings you can push where you won't get too much noise. Just little things you pick up, and you learn about what your camera can and can't do.
Yeah, you can really start to know where you could push it to. If it's
just little things you learn the more you shoot.
Yeah, totally. Nathan's got a question. When you're shooting on tour, how drastically different do your live edits look compared to edits that are meant to be showcased in your portfolio? That's a great question.
That's a really good question.
Really good question.
I mean, it really depends on how tight the timing is. Like if I'm on like a tight schedule, but I have time to maybe sit in the hotel room and do some slight retouching, I'll do that. But on the day when you're like pumping out live edits, like it's something like Firefight, where we had to have photos of every artist, like literally as they got off stage. It's kind of just like you have to just let go and kind of let the work kind of be a little bit imperfect, which like really, like at the end of the day, there's only a select few people who are going to notice those little things anyway.
Yeah.
So I would say there is quite a difference, but it's really just a timing thing for me.
And is your process mostly like import into Lightroom on tour, like import into Lightroom and just export like in and out?
Yeah, I'll keep it in Lightroom, and then if there's something that I want to do, like for example, like move a mic stand or something, I'll take it in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Or if there's, I don't know, say for example, like the artist has asked for something to be removed or changed.
Yeah.
Well, even if the festival is like, there's someone in the front who's like looks intox.
Yeah.
You'll cheekily edit them out, or like a cheeky crop.
Yeah.
But,
Sophia's asked about the most difficult venue to shoot. I'm trying to think. There's always the ones in town that everyone hates. Like I hate the Corner Hotel. The Corner Hotel with this bloody...
How come?
Well, there's poles in the middle of the room. Fuck.
Yeah, I've heard about these poles.
Suck. It's actually quite a cool venue, but just the poles make it annoying for us. It's a cool venue to watch music in, though.
Well, that's how I feel about Oxford Arts.
Oxford Arts, yeah. There's a few people saying that in the chat. Oxford Arts.
Yeah, because it's an amazing venue to see music, and I have so many great memories in that venue. But it's always just like so sweaty, and the lighting's always very like usually quite hit and miss, and there's a lot of smoke, and and there's no pit either, so you kind of just.
No pit. Oh my god.
Pushing through the crowd, like all gross, and they're not gross because they're just there to see the show standing still, but you're running around like a madman.
How different is it from when you first start, and then when you get to a certain level where you get to when you're like, there's no pit, I don't think I'm above anything. I'm not above anything, but I'm just like, I'm too old for this shit. Like honestly, no pit. Yeah. Come on, guys.
I mean, there's certain nights where you get to the venue and you're like,
oh god, it's gonna be so hard. It's especially hard with Rule shows if there's no pit for me. That's tricky, and it happens on tour a lot.
Yeah, was it the US or Europe where I saw you were shooting lots of like a bit more challenging venues?
Both US and just because it's a little bit smaller shows, but like you're just in the crowd and it can be challenging.
Fun challenging, right?
But then I love it. It's the best. I would not complain. But you get there and you're like, Joel and I look at each other and go, no pit tonight, buddy. So what are we doing?
Well,
Yeah, so have a little joke about it. But like, I'm just reading what's in the chat. They're saying Oxford. Matt said that Idols was a wild shoot at Oxford.
oh, true. I mean, at the same time, like it kind of Oxford Art kind of creates this really cool intimate vibe. Like I did a Charlie XCX show there.
Ah, cool.
And that was amazing. Like it was just heaving. Like had so much smoke, strobes, and like just the most basic lighting, but everyone was just losing their shit. So it made for a good energy. And you kind of had to like squeeze through the crowd, and everyone's like kind of pushing you through it. Like kind of some people are annoyed that you're there, and other people are like, get that shot.
I know. Isn't it great when you get good crowds, because it can be hit and miss, but if they're letting you through and they're like, you go girl, or up you go, like it's really lovely. But then you get some that are just like assholes, and they just won't. You're like, I'm just trying to do my job, can I just like
so
please, can I just like, you know, put my camera in my hand and I'm like trying to go through, like let me through.
Yeah, and I think like I talk to a lot of people who really struggle with that. Like a lot of photographers will vent and be like we'll shoot the same show together and they're like, oh, how did you get into the crowd like that? And I think you kind of have to realize that, like, even if people don't realize how essential, like, what's essential for our job to happen, I feel like you kind of just need to push through it. Because, like, these people, even though, like, you obviously want to respect people's space and you want to be, like, respectful and honor the people who have paid to be there.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, you're there to do a job.
Yeah.
And the venue's not always going to accommodate that, and you kind of have to make that work.
Totally.
So I feel like it's trying to find that balance between being respectful and kind, and getting the shot, essentially.
Yeah, totally. And usually too, if you can just say, hey, I'm going to take a couple of shots and I'm going to bounce, like they're usually pretty cool about it.
I mean, if I'm doing a rave, everyone's like, yeah, bro.
Yeah, buddy. Absolutely.
They keep trying to put you on their shoulders. It's great.
Yeah, totally.
Love all the bros.
Love all the bros. Does anyone any other questions specifically for Jordan in the chat? There's lots of chat about Marcus is saying Marcus is saying Charlie XCX was the same at the Met. Lucinda asked how I cope without a pit. Yeah, I sometimes it depends on my mood and how long I've been touring for. Sometimes I'll just shoot from the border, the exterior. Also, like, I'm on tour, you know, Rule fans are quite little, so you can actually... Maggie and I were talking about this because I shot the show with her in New York, and it was 2 sold-out shows.
Oh, that's been so cool.
I know, it was so fun. We got to hang out before and then shoot the show together, but it was 2 sold-out shows, and his fans are so little that they squished up so far. So I was like halfway in like I literally was in the middle of the room, so it was totally fine. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Brit said she gets her wheels in the way and runs them over. This is where a wheelchair comes in handy for Brit. That's so cool.
I still need to meet Brit.
You haven't met Brit yet?
Really cross paths, but we haven't actually met.
Brit's the best. There's a very specific song from Gab asking what your favourite Jason Derulo show is. Song is or show? Are you a bit of a Jason Derulo fan?
No, we just have a long-standing social media obsession with Jason Derulo's powerful content on TikTok and Instagram.
I didn't know he's on TikTok. Does he do his little Jason Derulo? Does he do that at the start of his like TikToks?
I mean, sometimes he does some cooking content. Ooh. Gab's always keeping me up to date, tagging me in a lot of stuff.
I love that.
His best song is probably Trumpets.
Oh, Trumpets, yep.
It's his most iconic song, Gab.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, he's just become a bit of an internet meme, and we just love laughing at it.
I shot Charlie at Night Cat, Tim is saying. Wow, that is wild. Harp is saying, what's your process game plan for a show? That's a good question.
True. I mean, it really depends, but it probably goes back to what I was talking about before with like trying to get like good production moments and nail confetti shots. It's like just doing your research, I feel like, especially if it's a show with lots of specific features. Like, for example, if you know there's going to be a lot of production, or you know there's going to be maybe the artist is going to jump in the crowd at a certain point. Maybe something crazy will happen. Like maybe the artist is known for, I don't know, snogging fans. I don't know, or like jumping into the pit, or like, you know,
snogging fans.
there's that.
Awkward.
Well, yeah, it reminds me of the 1975. But there was that meme that was going around where it was like photographers when the artist jumps into the pit and it's like Michael Scott being like, okay, calm down, it's happening.
Oh my god!
Like,
It's Rule's done that to Joel and I a few times, and like we didn't know it was happening, and then we look at each other, we're like, shit, quick, content, and then you see the fans shots of us doing that, like, because they video everything and then post it and then tag us. It's so funny. Yeah. It's like panic stations. He's going in the crowd, guys. He's going in the crowd.
Did you really shoot a show where the artist jumped in the crowd if you didn't get the crowd shot?
You absolutely did not. No.
Somewhere. But yeah, in terms of like a game plan or process for the show, it's like just doing your research. If you are shooting with the artists and you've never shot with them before, it's usually a good idea just to do some research on their socials. Like maybe watch if they've got live footage online, just check that out. If you know someone, maybe like a friend has shot with them before, be like, hey, was there anything that like I should know?
Yep.
Just little things like that, like bounce off your friends.
Totally.
Sometimes it's good to just like if it's your first time working with someone, just like asking the manager if there's anything you need to be aware of, like anything specific that the artist likes.
Yep.
Like I know, for example, like some artists don't want black and white options, or they don't want shots from the side, or it can be anything.
Yeah.
It can be like the weirdest. They like posting squares.
They don't like the up the chin one. That's pretty common.
Yeah. Just like little things that the manager will appreciate you knowing and asking about. Yeah, usually like the general process will be just check in with the manager and be like, hey, are we all still good for tonight? How would you like me to collect my cred? Turn up, introduce yourself to as many people as possible, and when people look at you, don't look down at the ground, smile at them, and like even if you feel like it's appropriate, just introduce yourself, because a lot of the time they're probably feeling the same as you. They're probably just a little bit shy, or they don't hate you.
Yeah, they don't hate you. Totally.
I mean, some of them do hate you. Like, you just have to kind of
Mostly they don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Amber Lee's got a great question. How do you carry your cameras and gear while you're shooting? That's a good question. That's one of those practical things that people don't ask, but it's a good question.
Yeah, I always fly with them just like hanging on my shoulder on straps, but I am realizing as I get older that's not always going to be viable. So I was looking at like the harnesses that I know a lot of photographers use. Because you use a harness, right?
I used to, the Black Rapid before I started shooting with one camera because I'm lazy. But yes, I had I've still got it, Black Rapid. They're great. You can hang the two.
So I was looking at that before Corona came through.
Yeah, I highly recommend. Highly recommend. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that, and then I usually just have like a little side bag that I'll put like one extra lens in if I need to swap.
Yeah.
If I know I'm not going to be going back to my full kit.
Yeah, which you usually keep backstage or somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere where it's not going to get nabbed, hopefully.
Yeah. I just carry the little pouch now with the extra lens if I'm shooting with an extra lens. Sometimes I'm not because I'm lazy, but no, usually I've got, and then I've got all my like star filters and all of the little tricks that I use.
The essentials for every situation.
Yeah, got the fractals in the pouch and all whatever I want to pull out for the show, and they're all in the pouch. Extra batteries, extra cards just in case a card fails, things like that, just in my little side pouch. Always good to have, which is good.
Yeah.
What other questions have we got here? Nathan is saying, are we seeing the long-awaited JPEG Mafia versus Jordan Munns collab if Splendor is still going forward?
I don't even know what the go is with in terms of like international artists. I
don't think any of us know at the moment, do we?
No, I'm seeing like wildly speculative articles. Some saying like 2023.
Oh, 2023. I've heard.
There was an article that came out today, but I feel like it was very.
Oh God, I'm glad I didn't read that one. I probably would have gone into a hole of depression. The 2021 ones were bad enough.
Yeah, I think like it was more about when international touring will
start back here.
Will be back to normal, rather than like when it will start up again, which I feel like will be next year at some point.
Yes.
But who knows? Like it's been such a weird, uncertain time, but I mean, hopefully, like if JPEG can make it out here, but as long as America is the way it is, sadly, I don't know if we'll.
Yes.
Yeah, Amy was like that 2020 thing was clickbait. It
was.
Good. Yeah, it was very like.
Good.
It was like. International travel won't be back to normal until 2023, and then you click through and it's like they're saying it'll be at 50% operational next year and then fully back to normal in 2023.
Yeah. A few people said that Foals at Splendor was a really mental set. Ruby got pushed over. That sucks.
Foals have this interesting thing where they do the last 3 songs rather than the first 3.
Cool. I've never shot a show that's done that, but I've heard that some bands do it.
Yeah, which is interesting. It shows that like the artist is kind of thinking about us, which is really nice. That was really nice.
Yeah, a few people are saying that Marcus said that Splendor is a blast. And that's where Ruby and Marcus met. And the first time he met you as well.
Yeah, it's like music Christmas.
Yeah. Hey Elaine, thanks for the follow. Hold Fast Moneymaker for the win. Is that the like the Black Rapid? I think it is. I think Hold Fast is a similar vibe as well with the harnesses. Emma said harnesses are lifesavers. They really are. I started shooting with harnesses when I was still shooting weddings because you're just on your feet all day and it's just like lots of love for Splendor. I think Splendor's one of my favorite festivals that I shot. I shot it for Miguel, but I was also showing my film that year, so I was there for like 2 reasons and it was really fun. It was cold but fun. Cold at night.
Did I even see you? I don't think I even saw you that year. You were in and out so quick.
Yes. Did you see? No, I can't remember.
I think we tried to link up.
Yeah, maybe we tried to link up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very like that. It's Splendid. You kind of just like it's such a big site.
Ruby was saying the project said 2023. Fuck the project then. I love that show, but fuck them. So, great question from Nathan. What international show or festival would you love to shoot?
Well, actually, was actually meant to be going to America this year to shoot, but sadly it won't be happening for a while. Hopefully it will happen one day, but yeah, Leo just said Coachella. That was like one of them that's definitely on the bucket list. Yeah. I went to Coachella just as a punter when I was like 19 in 2013, and it was Chili Peppers, Blur, the Stone Roses, and the XX.
Wow.
And it was just the coolest experience.
So
but
cool.
I'd love to go back to just shooting.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to shoot at Rocks one day because that's such an iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Lola would be cool to shoot as well, like Governor's Ball. Like Area is another really cool festival in Europe.
Yep. Same.
Yeah. Where do you want to shoot?
Say that again.
Where do you want?
Yeah, exactly. Brazil. I keep saying I want to go to Brazil and Argentina because the fans over there are so awesome.
Yeah.
I love them. Yeah, most of my goals are less festival and specific artist related and more, what's the growth with Rule and where are we going and that sort of stuff. But there's definitely still artists that I would love to work with. I think Kendrick Lamar, like doing a portrait shoot, like an actual one-on-one shoot, is like probably one of.
You love having Kendrick before?
I've shot Kendrick like every time he's come to Australia, pretty much. But including the first time, which like nobody even knew who he was, but I was already a massive fan. It was like 2012.
I think I actually remember that, and he played the Enmore.
Yeah, he played the Metro, which isn't even a venue in Melbourne anymore, and it was like iconic.
Oh, really?
Iconic.
Wow.
Yeah, I've told this story before, but he came out on stage and he walked over to the pit, and it was me and one other photographer, and he came and he like waved at me, and I was so excited that I like put my camera down and waved back.
Like, hello.
Instead of getting a cool wave shot, I was like, hi.
So would your inner fangirl be screaming on the inside if you met Kendrick?
Oh, definitely. There's one artist that I'd have to really.
It's a deal breaker.
I'll just have to hold it together. Like I would, and it would be fine, but inside, I would be dying because I love him.
That would be me if I ever met like someone like Bowie. When he was alive, like if I had met Bowie, I just would be a little bit speechless.
Oh, there's
Radiohead.
Oh yes. Oh, Britt has just asked that question about dream artists to shoot dead or alive, and I think that was a good segue.
Yeah, Bowie. I'd say Bowie. And I wanted to shoot Queen, which I got to do, which is cool.
Amazing.
I want to shoot Radiohead. I saw them live last time they toured here. I'd love to shoot just Radiohead, just like with a camera.
Yep.
Not just like hunting. What else is there? else is on the bucket list?
For Dead or Alive, or for Dead is Tupac for me. That would be.
Yeah,
That's
true.
when I don't know if I could hold it together or not. So
Because you're such an old
I
school
know.
hip-hop.
That'd be like some leave past shit with my husband. Hey, he's very well aware of that. It's fine. So,
Gotta go with
Yeah.
Tupac's Holland.
can you imagine? It's actually one of those artists that I'm never glad anyone's dead, but like when you see what those
That's such a
I know. Let me explain. But you know when you see like your stars, especially from the '90s, like, and then generally they kind of degenerate by this time, and oh god, it's just like what happened, and that just never. You know, Tupac was always like the 26-year-old icon that he is, and I always get to remember him like that. So not 50-year-old Tupac, which he probably would be now, 48 or whatever. So.
Oh, there is one. I'm a massive fan, but also just because it's so rare that he actually plays Frank Ocean.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Which,
Oh my God.
Have
you seen him live before?
He's cancelled on me 3 times. Yeah, so I was meant to see him at Future Music Festival in I think it was 2012 or 2013.
Is that when he had? Yeah, it was. He lost his voice, but I saw the Melbourne show before the Sydney show, so I got to see it. And even with a lost voice, is probably one of the best gigs I've ever seen in my life.
So you were at that show?
Yes, I was with my best friend
'cause I heard
Cherie,
about that.
and it was friggin' awesome. Just beautiful. It was like this huge stage, and just him. Like and he just.
He was kind of like he rocketed to fame. I remember off channel.
Gosh, it was really, really beautiful. Really.
Yeah, well, I remember that was the year he was meant to play at Splendor, and we found out like literally at the festival that he pulled out, and me and all my friends were just like single tear moment. And then he got replaced by Lord.
Amazing.
Like, still coming up.
Totally.
And now Lord is Lord.
Lord is Lord. Yes. Ruby saying Red Rocks is number 1 on your bucket list. That is, I think that might be Rule's favorite number 1 as well. He really wants to play there, so fingers crossed. Yeah,
100%.
For sure.
It's only a matter of time.
One photographer. Oh, okay. So somebody's just saying you can't shoot for artists at Splendor anymore. Is that the case? Strict.
I think it's
Someone messed up. Jared's saying.
Yeah, it was a bit
what
of a
happened? I want to know. What's the goss?
thing. I think
It wasn't me. I wasn't there, guys. Don't blame me.
There was some people
taking the piss.
that were kind of like and kind of like abusing their cred and like giving it to other people, and
Oh
then
my god.
I'm not really. I kind of don't want to speak on something I don't fully know about, but I think like
Let's speculate. Where's the tea?
I think Splendor just tried to nip it in the bud and just like.
I mean, there is something in that. Even if we are wildly speculating, like, please don't abuse your privileges. Like, please don't do that shit, because it really does ruin it for all of us. Like shit, like taking photo of your AAA pass. Like, please don't do that, because people can copy them.
It's just etiquette things. Like, just little tips that are just so easy to do. Like, always if you're shooting on stage or anywhere where like you're visible as part of the show, just wear all black.
Yes.
Which like I feel like every photographer has had their have had their reckoning.
Have I told you about my reckoning about what happened with me?
Yeah, you told me about that. Yeah. I feel like every photographer had that experience where they're working and they just get ripped. And they're like, I'm never not gonna wear.
I should tell that story on the stream, because I haven't. But I was shooting for Remy, who was getting up to do a song for Damon Albarn, is that his name? The guy from the Gorillaz? Yeah. Remy was doing a song, and I got told about it kind of last minute, so I came from somewhere else to shoot it, and I was wearing white, and I had to be side of stage, and his tour manager literally ripped me a new one. And I was like, fair, like, honestly, you're absolutely right, and I'm a dickhead and I deserve that. So, and I've never, like, I will have a spare in the car now. It will never happen again. But I
mean, my solution was just to wear black all the time whenever
I do it anyway. I know that some people don't agree with me on that one, and that's cool, but I think it's a uniform, and it's just like anyone working should.
Your crew.
Your crew.
You're part of the crew of the show.
Part of the crew. Wear black. I also love wearing black, so that's handy.
Yeah, 100%. Then you have to think about it either. Just
Yes.
wear a nice black hat.
Yes. There's
Yeah, Leo's talking about his first field day 3 years ago with red camo pants and a white shirt.
Everybody's had it. Like I should show. There's a photo of me that my friend shared recently. My first festival I ever shot, and I'm not joking. It's so mortifying. So mortifying. I'm wearing a tiny little crop top, a denim crop top, and these little black shorts. Like,
oh no.
What was I mean, I do remember it was a really hot day, in my defense, but so unprofessionally inappropriate.
I think like you kind of just need to. I think like something you learn as you work more and more is that you kind of need to give up on like
fashion,
like worrying about the way you look.
Yeah, totally.
Because like you're shooting at some of the festivals, you're gonna be gross.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna be working hard.
Yeah.
You're gonna sweat.
Totally.
Like you're gonna be tired.
It's like
you're gonna be hungry.
The last
like, you're not gonna
thing.
look your best. Like give up on it. Like just let it go.
It's the last thing that I think about now is like what I'm. It's literally I have 25 black t-shirts and 25 pairs of jeans, and not that many actually. It's like 3, but like that I take on tour, and that's what I'm wearing, and that's it. Like, and then it keeps it simple. Just stage blacks.
It's honestly like it's changed whole shoots for me.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
even for example, I won't talk like say what show it was, but I was shooting for the touring company, and the artist had a photographer touring with them, and I met him, and like we talked briefly on Instagram and stuff. But he was like, this guy's wearing. He points to me and he goes, "This guy's wearing all black. He's allowed to do whatever he wants," because like everyone else who was there shooting wasn't wearing black.
Yeah.
It's like it's actually just like it's my number one tip.
Yeah, I agree. It is.
Wants to work. Like join the crew. Join the crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there is those moments too where sometimes, let's just say you were in the pit. And weren't thinking it was like overly important, because like there's definitely an argument to say it's not as important as if you were on stage, but there's definitely been moments where you've pulled out of the pit to do something like by management to go, hey you, I need you on, and like that's happened to me heaps of times.
It's actually quite a technique where like tour managers will like they're trying to find a solution to get content for the artist, and they'll pull someone
out, and they will pull someone out that's wearing black. So Aaron always he has to throw in a little merch idea whenever we say things in the stream. Join the crew. That is
trademark it.
I am obsessed with that idea. I think that join the crew. Oh my god, that one might stick. That one, that is brilliant. It is. There's lots of stories coming in about Ruby saying she hates wearing black. Yes. Yes.
I'll take my 5%.
Dude, you are owed so much more than 5% for the things that you do for this. Ruby's just saying the Grace Jones set was incredible, and I'm just showing those photos at the moment. I had seen a couple of them, but not all of them, and so I'm kind of fanning over your photos right now. They're really beautiful.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah, that set was. I was at Sydney City Limits, which was like just like a one-off festival. I think it was like an offshoot of Austin City Limits. I just remember like it was such a good day. I was actually Ruby was shooting that as well. I remember. I think Mickey was there as well. Like a few other. I think quite like Mitch and stuff were there. Mitch Lowe and like Pat Stevo.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
And Zen was there as well. All legends. That festival was like the coolest, weirdest lineup. Like I loved the bookings. It was like Beck was playing, and then Grace Jones played, and then like Gang of Youths were there. Who else played that? And then Phoenix was there as well.
Oh, cool.
It was a really good festival.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, Grace Jones was up there. Her set was, she had all these people, like, she had like bubble machines on stage. She was like dancing on poles, and she's like in her early 70s, I think.
She's goals, man. Grace Jones is goals.
I have a shred of that energy.
Yeah.
In myself.
I'm just going through your folio, just showing other stuff now. Parkway Drive, there we go. There's something I wanted to ask you about, which we haven't really spoken much about. And I've started seeing you do more kind of press shotty kind of vibe. Is there something that you're super interested in? Is it like, because for me personally, that's really been my bread and butter. Like when you're talking about making income from.
You're one of my insights.
Aww, that's cute.
I'm always like, what would MPH do in this situation?
That's
I look up into the sky and then like the clouds part and your face appears.
Oh,
You know,
God,
like,
stop it. I'm blushing. But for me, that's really been the difference in terms of being able to make, good income from music photography is doing, 3 or 4 press shots for artists a week. And
the fact that we can kind of do right now.
totally. And there's a huge need for it. Like, I work with artists of all levels. Like, yes, I do stuff for labels and people that are signed, but I do stuff for unsigned artists all the time. Like, probably 3 out of the 4 that I do a week are with, unsigned up and coming artists. And is that a goal of yours too, to do more of that stuff, or are you mainly focused on live? Or
here's the thing, like with the work a lot of the work that I do, I don't end up sharing it on my socials just because like I feel like there's an expectation with what I've posted on, and I'm sure you feel the same thing, but in a different way, where it's kind of like you kind of know what people want to see and like what kind of work that should be on your profile. Whereas for me, like I'm shooting a lot of studio stuff that I'm proud of, but I wouldn't put on my Instagram, which is like something that I wanted to change this year.
Yep.
In terms of like, because I'm doing a lot more like press shots with artists, but it's something that I've always done.
Yep.
I've just never really shared it as much as I probably should have.
That's an interesting point. So my tip was always to show the work that I wanted to be earning money from. So
that is actually such a good idea.
Show people what you want to be hired for, because that's what you're going to be hired for. So it's always been a combination. And originally it was really heavy with live music, and I do try and balance it out. The majority of stuff I shoot is more press shots. And then I'll throw in the live stuff when I get to do the live stuff. But I would definitely recommend, if you're doing more of that, because, it's our folio now, like people are far more likely to go to your Instagram than your website these days. So even though they're both.
I mean, it's like a lot of the time it's like if a client wants to see, actually it's probably a good idea to share is what I'll do, like a page in the back end of my website, and I'll tailor that page to the client. So like, say for example, the client's like, we want you to shoot this. And I'll be like, okay, so I'm going to collect all my work that I feel like will vibe with them and put it in one project on my website. And then I set it to private and I'll give it to the client. And then when they open that page, like they see that you've gone the extra mile to collect content that aligns with what they want. And then they're like, okay, well, this person's obviously serious about nailing it for us. So that's going to kind of give you the edge over like anyone else who could potentially be hired for that job.
Totally.
Yeah, so for me, it's like, for say, like a wine company hits me up and says, we want you to shoot our launch event. I'll collect every kind of corporate-y, like activation-y event job I've done and just put it into a collection.
Yeah.
And just be like, here we go, this is what I can do. And then just send it to them. And then if you put up the top, like, client portfolio, and then you kind of make it really seem like it's tailored just for them. Yeah. It kind of makes the client, it already establishes to the client that you're serious about doing a great job, essentially.
Great. That's such a good tip. I saw Ruby made a comment saying one of her photos of Justice got in their vinyl from the festival. That's so good. Congratulations, Ruby. That's such a good feeling when you see your work either printed, in an album or a vinyl or a tour poster or anything like that. That's why we do this half the time, is to see our work printed like that,
100%.
Any other questions? I'm still reading the chat here to see if I can catch up with. Hopefully, I haven't missed.
I mean, to be honest, even with website stuff, like I just saw Ruby was like, I really need to make a site. A lot of the time, I'm finding that when a client's asking for recommendations, or someone or a friend is asking for recommendations, they just want to see the Instagram. Like, and I feel like that's probably usually the place. Yeah.
We've had this conversation before. I'm a bit split. I'm a bit torn on it, because I do feel like that is generally the case. I do feel like there's a level of professionalism that comes with a website, and it does take you into slightly a different level that if you do, but
the photos look better.
The photos look better on there. It's a larger format and you can really show. But and I've spoken to Ruby about this before. It's like trying to understand that. I think it would really benefit, especially Ruby, showing her work that big, and it's so beautiful. So but it can be overwhelming knowing what to put on it and starting that process, and so I get it.
Oh my gosh. I've been doing that at the moment. So that's one of my ISO tasks. just like,
updating or
yeah, just like you just get busy, and then you just realize that like you've been posting on your Instagram, but you haven't been posting on your website, or you haven't been posting on insert platform here.
Aaron's asked how old you are.
I'm 27. I just turned 27 last month.
God, dominating the world at 27. What a baby.
Is that baby?
Baby, I just feel like I'm just so old.
Oh, I'm not at all, mate.
Happy birthday, Jared said.
Thanks.
There's actually another question that came that I forgot to read out from Tim Lambert. Did you get the water out of your laptop this morning? That was a question.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's all been sorted.
It's always sorted. Did you actually tip water on your laptop this morning?
Well, yeah, no, it was last night.
Oh, last.
I was like, it was just a little bit. It was my water bottle. I just like knocked it, and like instantly, I just pulled my laptop out of the water and popped it upside down. But it's all been sorted.
R.I.P. as Jared said. As if I'm older than 27, Emma. Yeah, just a tad. Just a few pluses on the... So it's good. We have good lighting on these streams, so it doesn't show up as much. Tell me your secrets. Sicilian genes. This must be... Yeah.
Just being positive.
Being positive, yes. So I guess...
loving people, supporting people.
I do love doing that. Genuinely love supporting the crew.
Takes years off.
It does. That's my secret. I've got a question for just like with what's happening now and how you're, I guess, spending your time and how you're viewing the future. Are you kind of glass half full about what's happening and positive about that it's going to progress and pick up at one stage, you know?
I'm trying to be. I mean, like, it's a choice. I feel it's a choice to get up every day and be like, I can either use my time to like kind of wallow and be sad about the things that aren't happening now for us, but like at the same time, I can also choose to use this like abundance of free time for good things. And I feel like I kind of have varying levels of success day to day. I don't know if you can relate. Like some days I'm like, yes, task management. I'm like running. And I'm gonna run a marathon. I'm gonna finish my whole website next week. And I'm gonna do every tutorial that was ever on YouTube. And you get really you have those days where you're in the shower and you're like pumping yourself up, and then you're like by the end of the day you can read one article, or you can have one conversation, or you can remember one thing, and it kind of brings you, or you look at your calendar and you see something that was meant to happen that day, and you're like, oh, this is really challenging. Like, to be honest, because. I mean, for me, it was quite tough. Like, that week that I think, like, the NBA got cancelled, and then, like, Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson had coronavirus, and then it started becoming kind of real for, like, the everyday person that, like, okay, this is really serious. Which is kind of funny that it was, like, Tom Hanks and the NBA, but, like, I feel like it kind of needed to hit it home for people, for them to finally understand.
It always takes a celebrity, you know, in these instances that it's like, oh, yeah. It's not just a statistic of 2,000 people in New York or 2,000, whatever. It was Italy at that point, or China. It's like actually people that we know, and you know,
Yeah. So I kind of that week where everything just like kind of got wiped off. It was pretty tough. It was kind of like a little bit of like grief, where it was like, okay, so the 2020 that I had on the cards, which was really exciting, and I was like had some really cool opportunities that I was honestly like more excited about than anything. That's all kind of either not happening or happening next year, hopefully. So it was easy in the first week or two to get like sad about that. But I mean, then you kind of have to be like, okay, well, this is how I'm living, and I'm safe, and I'm happy, and I have great people around me, and I have beautiful friends, and I have a community to play video games with and like talk to and kind of bounce ideas off. And so I really have like, you kind of really have to count the positive things and focus on those, and be like, a year from now we'll probably be shooting shows again, so what can I do now to make that a better experience on the other side, which is really hard to do because like long-term goals are quite hard to look to at the moment. But
totally,
I mean, because we're so uncertain about what's going on. But,
I can resonate. I resonate with all of that, definitely. I definitely had those moments as well, and depression. And like for me, my low moments are really quite fleeting, obviously. Like I can pull myself out of them pretty quickly, but they're definitely there. Like I'll have
you get a bit fixated on something.
I definitely had
negative.
a cry or two about thinking about
Yeah.
just the amount of touring that I was meant to be doing this year and it being postponed and it sucks.
Especially when you're when you're doing this full time, you have your month plan.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have your year. You kind of have a rough scaffold, I feel, of your year, and you have things that you know that are coming up. And like for example, like you'll do this festival in November, and then you'll do this festival in December. Which now that none of that is certain.
Yeah, totally.
It's pretty scary. It was kind of so overwhelming that you kind of don't feel. I don't know if you felt the same, but I felt a little bit numb for a long time. I was like, especially because everyone was going through it together as well.
Yeah,
everyone was
it just didn't feel real.
It
was weird.
And it just happened very quickly too. Which I know it didn't happen quickly behind the scenes, but in terms of how it affected our industry.
Yeah.
I feel like
I was a little bit more prepared. I've spoken about this before, but I was a little bit more prepared because Rule's tour to Asia got cancelled before anything else. It was cancelled in January because we were going to China. So I was a little bit more mentally prepared for the rest happening, I guess, because I was then following it really closely. So I followed it all the way through Italy and Spain and obsessively checking it, and then was like, okay, I'm pretty sure. I was, listening to podcasts with epidemiologists and really going in. So I was pretty aware that it was, going to get here and it was going to be pretty serious. So, woke queen. No, just I'm a bit of a control freak. So it's just trying to be really informed is what that is. Then it's,
I had to ban myself from the internet. I was telling you on Instagram, I had to get off social media and get off Facebook and get off Reddit and I was just sweating over articles that are just that were just kind of harmful conjecture, things that we don't know anything yet. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, totally.
And someone just said, I think I still feel numb.
Yeah.
It feels like a dream. It's still there's some days where I wake up and I'm like, oh yeah, this is happening. And you open your homepage and the news comes up and oh, that's happening.
Totally. I think too, because we're when you're self-isolating, you're literally safe in your house, and it's and we've got a great house that's over 4 levels, so we can actually be on different levels and have lots of space, and we're so lucky and privileged to live in it. It's not on top of each other, so you feel fine. And then the first few weeks when one of us would leave to do the groceries, we'd come back and just go, this is so it feels so weird when you leave the house.
Especially when you go, and when you go out and it's it kind of feels like it's business as usual, but all your favorite pubs and your cafes are
closed.
Different.
Yeah,
but they're kind of the same.
Totally, but different. Yeah.
I went to my local cafe this morning and got breakfast, and it's it just I'm so used to sitting in there and actually talking to them and chatting to them and asking how they are. And I just couldn't really do that. I'm still talking to them, but then I just take my food and go okay, bye, instead of sitting down.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a weird thing to get used to. And I'm grateful that that's the most we have to deal with in terms of the things that we're going through. Obviously, it's sad, but whenever I'm kind of in a bit of a sad day spiral or whatever, or I'm having a weird day, just trying to remember there's people that are working in hospitals right now. There are families that are struggling, and I'm
totally.
Well, it's that meme that was going around where it's our ancestors had to go, our great grandfathers had to go to war.
Yes.
And all we had to do is sit on the couch and watch
Netflix. Yeah. One of my best friends is a nurse, so I was getting updates from her, and it makes it really real. It's far out. The worst we have it is to sit at home and. No,
that doesn't nullify anything that you're feeling. It's okay to feel sad about these things.
Yes.
But for me personally, whenever I'm feeling a little bit sad boy, I'll just be well, just remember that you're safe and you're happy and you have amazing housemates.
I feel totally the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to kind of remind yourself of how lucky you are. And that kind of helps
Jared
me.
said you've got Warzone to help you through it now, so.
Yeah.
Some great comments here. Chloe saying she was loving the orange tones that you had for the Billy shots. I was showing the Billy ones before. I'm showing Nas at the moment.
Oh, nice. That was a great show.
The Nas one or the Billy one?
I got both, but I got Nas and Lauren
Hill. Yeah, I shot for Lauren Hill 2 shows in Melbourne, so I got to see it twice, which was amazing. What else do we have? Oh yes, Ruby saying she cried when Download got cancelled. I feel like that was.
Yeah, it was well, My Chemical Romance is definitely on the bucket list. So that was like my inner emo was very upset about that one.
Yes. Bruce is saying
Everyone was bored.
everyone was. I know. Ruby's saying she just misses seeing everyone. And even though we couldn't see people living far away from literally all my friends makes ISO feel even more lonely. Yeah, I totally feel that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as of I don't know are the restrictions being slowly relaxed in Victoria?
A little bit less than everybody else, but we're getting there now. So I started shooting back this week, one-on-one. Feeling just a bit more comfortable to do that with obviously hand sanitizer and making sure there's distancing and all those sort of things.
Yeah.
But
on that shoot on Monday, I was like bringing out like my little sack full of like hand sanitizer and like wipes, and I was like, I'm ready.
ready for action.
Like our makeup artist was wearing like a sanitary mask, and we were disinfecting everything.
Just taking all the precautions. I feel like we're going to do that for a while, and that's okay. Like that might also prevent us from having a really horrible flu season as well. So, it's fine. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with everyone just being precautions are cool. And if people think we took it too far, then I'm also okay with that because we're not in the situation of Italy and New York. So it feels like the restrictions have worked, not the opposite. So
I'm going to just listen to the experts and just try and be as safe as possible. I mean, that's all we can really do right now, right?
That's all we can do. Brit's saying, I remember being in Japan and hearing that Melbourne had no toilet paper. They did it. That was legit. I had to get my friend Cherie to drop off toilet paper for me because I had no toilet paper. I could not get it for like 3 weeks. It was crazy.
Remember, like, just before the restrictions came in, I went with Jared, who's in the chat now, and Jess Gleason to Costco.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
We're going to stock up for the apocalypse.
You guys are smart.
Because Jared's a member. And there was a whole crowd of people just waiting out the back awkwardly for toilet paper that wasn't even coming. And then the worker had to be like, there's no toilet paper here, guys. Go home. What?
Shelley said she's been working through. She's an essential worker. So hats off to you, Shelley. Good stuff. We need people like you.
I was talking with a friend the other night about how, like, for some people they've been working harder through this pandemic, and then, so it's kind of like, and I feel like those people have kind of been forgotten a little bit because they don't feel like they can talk about how overworked and stressed they are because there's such crazy things going on, but also that everyone thinks that everyone's just isolating and chilling, and when it's for some people it's become a really stressful time. So I've been trying to be mindful of that and just trying to respect people's like their ability to communicate and like what they're capable of right now. And,
totally. Just
kind of weird to navigate how everyone's online. That's a conversation I've had with a few people, like trying to figure out what everyone's boundaries are in terms of like their online presence and.
Totally. What up, Ozfizz? Thanks for joining the stream again. Lovely person who she pops in quite frequently, so that's great. Awesome. I totally agree with that about, I've seen some things about, like if people don't check up on you in this time, they're not your real friends, but everybody is like dealing with this shit. I think I just can't, there's no, I don't even know how to communicate this, but everybody's got their individual way of dealing with it, and some of them are recluse and some of them are more putting themselves out there or whatever. Like there's just different ways of dealing with things, and I definitely wouldn't be judging my friends if they went MIA at the moment at all. Like I totally get it.
No, I think everyone has their way of dealing with, like, I guess I think trauma is a strong word, but I feel like it's definitely something
it's a collective trauma.
Yeah, it's a weird shared trauma that everyone kind of has different responses to. So, and there's grief involved, especially for like lost opportunities.
Yeah, all of those things. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But it's I think we're all dealing with it in our own way. Yeah, I think and it's good to respect that. I feel, especially with like one thing I've noticed is my clients have been really awesome. Where if they've asked me to work, they've been like, "Are you working at the moment? And are you cool with working?"
Yeah, same.
And I found that I just was like, "Oh, I can just tell that client respects me."
Same. Yeah, I've had exactly the same experience.
Yeah, I think it shows that they're thinking about the people around them and being like, okay, well, this person probably doesn't hate me. They're just kind of struggling to figure out how to deal with what's going on right now.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah.
Amy says, is it Amira? Has said, whoa! Jared donated $10. Hell yeah! Oh my god! shower donation. Big hearts. I feel like you and all of your friends are supporting my stream this month. This is fantastic. Just have to get.
I'm conducting the train. Baby.
You need your own little emote, a little choo-choo train for every time you appear. What a legend!
I'm just gonna turn up on the stream and just drop like conductor hat.
Fuck yeah, I love this community so much. I think we're really fortunate in Australia. I think we've got a really awesome photographer community. It's like awesome. Okay.
Yeah, and it's totally like the vibe is. I don't know whether like that was what we were talking about like way earlier in the chat. I feel like it's something that we've all had to work hard on and work together on, and I feel like it's gotten to the point now where there's kind of no room for people to be dickheads. Essentially, like there's a kind of a no dickheads policy. I feel which is starting to take place. Hopefully,
a no dickheads policy. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm a big proponent of the no dickheads policy. Just like not even tolerating it, like just kind of just ignoring it or just flat out being like, no. Like
yeah, it's funny because I feel like I feel like there was definitely a community of a lot of dickheads a few years back that used to like music photography groups are notorious for being just hellscapes of just dickheads. And like there was there's now the group Girls in the Photo Pit on Facebook, which is a really beautiful, lovely community, and it allows women and young girls to ask questions and not feel like they're asking stupid questions, because that's what used to happen. You'd ask a question as a beginner in these photography groups and some dickhead would just like, you know, shoot you down or just say, I don't know, just being an absolute knob, and that like can, you know, totally put someone off from progressing.
Literally spoken to photographers who have stepped away from the scene just because of the way they were treated, and that's like, and that's just such a waste of talent, and like sad to think about that person was affected so badly. And like,
it's a really common story. It's a really and you know, I just think the girls that created that particular space have done the community, you know, it's been amazing. Like, it's not to say that it should always be just isolated to women, because I don't think that is the case, but there is a space there. And then I think outside that, there's been other people that have just naturally gravitated towards each other and created really great friendships that have just been really open, and you know, you can ask questions whenever. That's really happened over the last 2 or 3 years, which has been amazing. And then there's like little group chats and you know, video game, whatever guys are doing, playing video games.
Yeah, how much better is it at a festival or an event or a show where you just with all your friends?
Oh my god!
Like, I remember that YouTube event we did together.
That
like,
was with
was
Billy. That was so fun.
And it was nice, like night of just everyone hanging out, and it should be like that. And I'm so glad it is often like that now, where it's like we're working together and we can help each other and we can build each other and we can love each other and actually care about each other beyond work stuff.
Has Billy told you about the shoot that I got? I think it might have been one of his first shoots. It was when he was really, really, really young. But I snuck Billy in to shoot the Rise show when he was like 17.
I remember being at shows, because Billy's like 4 or 5 years younger than me.
Billy's a baby. I see Billy now and I'm always like, whoa, dude, wait, what? When did you grow into like a grown-ass man? What is going on? This is tripping me out.
He would turn up to shows in his school uniform.
Oh, yeah, I feel like that might have even happened that day when I was like trying to sneak him in the back of it was the Rise show when I launched my book, and we're looking at your JPEG Mafia shots now, and people losing their shit.
He is a freak in the best way.
So good. I loved seeing your show. I actually loved seeing everybody's photos from this particular show, but yours in particular.
I remember Gab got some crazy stuff.
Gab did get some crazy stuff. Yeah, I do remember that as well.
We just kept looking at each other like, what is going on right now? And like Paige was there as well.
I love those moments where you just all look at each other going, what? This is so cool.
The 1975 at Laneway was one of those sets as well, where you're just like, what is going on right now?
Marcus has just said that Billy got a bunch of tattoos overnight and grew from a child to an adult. I feel like...
If he ever watches this back, he's going to be like, wow, everyone's talking about me on the stream.
I feel like I hadn't seen him in like 5 years, and I was like, whoa, What? Last time you were like a little child. I definitely knew that. I love that feeling of community, and I definitely felt it at Laneway. I definitely remember the Melbourne show in particular, just because I started on stage and then I came round to the pit and just like I spent probably 5 minutes just saying hello to everybody, and it was like, hey.
I just feel like beautiful friends in Melbourne as well.
Yeah.
I also feel like there's so many ridiculously talented people in Melbourne too. Like, and one of my favorite things about getting to like tour more and travel more and go shoot events down in Victoria is just like meeting all the people down there, and like also through Instagram as well. But like some of them have become like actual like life friends, like you, like Tim, Shevin, like a lot of these amazing like creatives based in Melbourne.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, really awesome people in Melbourne. I it's not as frequent that I'm shooting the bigger shows where everyone's there, but whenever I do, it's like a big catch up. It's awesome. There's also
and that's how it should be.
Some of the older guys that have been shooting for years and for Getty and stuff like that. Even those guys, like all the old rock dogs, I love now as well. And like Kane Hibbard, like seeing Kane, I always love seeing Kane, such an OG.
Kane was an early inspiration to me back in the day. I remember seeing his photos pop up.
Kane inspired, when I found out he did the Soundwave book, it was one of the inspirations for doing my book, and he gave me a lot of advice, which was really great advice. It was terrifying advice, but it was...
In what way?
Just realistic in terms of how much it costs to do those sort of things, and he's a real realist, which is bloody great. So and he was bang on with his advice and all that sort of stuff. So although it was terrifying, it was just great to hear the reality of creating something like that cost a shit ton of money, and I was lucky that I was able to crowdfund most of it. So. But yeah,
Did you ever shoot at Soundwave?
I didn't. I did go to Soundwave. One of the last. I don't know, maybe went to 2 or 3 actually. But hey Brisbane, thanks for the follow. Just waving at all the followers as well. So cool.
Hello.
Have you seen that Soundwave book? I got it. I bought it a few years ago.
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know if I've ever actually seen it, but I know I've heard
so I think you can still buy it, and if you can, there's only a few copies. I think he printed like 2,000 and they have nearly sold out. Shelley's saying she has the book. Jared saying Kane was the first person to give me a break in 2014 and let me shoot Soundwave as part of the team with Ian Laidlaw. That's so cool. Another awesome Melbourne legend who I was just talking to tonight, actually, Ian. There's some amazingly awesome people in Melbourne. I mean, as there are in Sydney and all over Brisbane, Adelaide. But
makes me want to move there.
Yeah, awesome.
I have lots of friends who moved to Melbourne.
You could
It's a thing.
You could totally live here. That's a vibe.
Yeah, I'll just have one of the floors of your house now.
Yeah. You could have the roof. Would you like the roof?
Yeah.
It's cool in summer.
It rains a bit,
Rooftop. I know. It does rain a bit. Well, we probably should wrap it up soon. We've been talking for bloody ages. Does anybody have any last questions for the absolute god that we have in here? Because this is, this might be the last time you get to ask him those questions.
He's disappearing after this.
Yeah, never to be seen of again.
For 6 months until shows start again.
No beaches in Melbourne. It's so funny people say that. I live on Williamstown Beach and I love our beach so much. It's no Manly, but it's definitely better than St Kilda. Let me put it that way. I live 5 minutes from it, so. But yeah, we don't have any surf beaches, that's for sure. Here we go. Opinion on doing video and photos. That's a great question.
I mean, it's I don't know. I feel like it really depends on the person in terms of like how successful it is. Like, I mean, like Leo's in here right now. Leo is someone who I think balances it in a really nice way, where like he's very 50-50 about it, but like is also very realistic about the challenges that it presents.
Yep.
And it's something that I talk a lot about with him.
Yep.
Where it's like in certain situations where, especially if you're on tour, with an artist, I feel like photo and video is a hugely viable thing, and it's like something that I think is a good idea and a good investment for the manager or the artist to do, because when you're on tour, you have so much more time to invest in both. Whereas like I feel like it can at times be kind of dangerous to hire someone to do photo and video for like a one-off 45-minute set at a festival.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of like is the job, is this person gonna have the ability to nail both, and then also B, is it like going to be, are we going to get a great video content, whether that's like rushes or like an after movie, and then are we also going to get great like iconic photos?
Yep. Yep.
And I feel like it's probably better if you have the money, and you have like the time and the budget and just the capacity to have both. I feel like that you're always going to get better content. I mean, like look at example like with you and with
Joel
with like Rule. Yeah, with Joel. It's like it makes total sense because you're touring together, and you have a lot of time together, so it kind of you can see it in the work that it's like beneficial for both of you to be there.
Yeah, totally.
And even something like Peking Duck as well, like with Ryan Sawyer and Pat Stevo, it's like because they're focusing on their one thing and like just focusing on nailing that, their specialty, you get incredible content.
Totally.
So I feel like in the right situations, like photo and video is kind of even like essential for like certain artists who like just need to take one person. But I feel like if an artist can, I always feel like you're always going to get better content to have like a photographer and a videographer. I mean, even like I think I was reading like Shawn Mendes tours a film photographer, a digital photographer, and a videographer. Is that right?
Josiah's his stills photographer, and then he had is it Connor, I think doing. I thought Connor was doing video, and they were kind of creating some type of film or something at the moment. But I feel like Josiah might have shot some film as well. I feel like there was 2 of them, not 3. But they definitely had 2 dedicated people. I have pretty strong opinions on this, but it's only because I suck at video. So.
What do you think?
I mean, I definitely see the necessity and why people would like to take one person. I think it's almost impossible to do both really, really, really well. There's definitely some people that have managed to do it. I think generally you're usually better at one than the other. I started doing video for Rule a couple of years ago, and I fucking suck at it, like just flat out. I'm so bad at it and hate it. So it created a lot of anxiety, a lot of tears, and I started to not love my job. And when Joel was brought on, it changed everything. And it was just, I mean, Joel and I had already knew each other anyway, but we work so well together. We have, a really great working relationship, and it's just, we get the highest possible content because we are focused just on that one particular job. But I definitely understand if it was a more up and coming artist and they didn't have the budget. I understand why people do it.
100%.
I just
local tours as well.
I'm pretty firm on that. You're usually better at one than the other. Not just like there's definitely people can multitask, and definitely you can get some great results, but if you've got an artist that's just dedicated to one thing, that the output's going to be higher, I think. So
this is what I think about certain jobs that I do, and I'm like, man, it's actually difficult enough to get around this venue just to take stills. Like, for me to have to do both is just insane. And it's like people I talk to as well who do both on tour, and they're just every time, or even like me and I don't know if you know Shevin.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
He does a lot of like photo, video, crossover. But every time I ever see him at a festival where he's doing both, I literally just don't even want to bother him because like
it's so much work.
He's on a mission, like he's running to get the shot from the back of the crowd, but then he also has to get that wide shot.
And there's always going to be a moment that you miss because you can't do it with both. So you have to pick. Like I hate having to choose. Like Gab's saying there was another guy on the Shawn Mendes who did some film stuff. I know that his tour manager was actually shooting some film, and he's actually a pretty good photographer. So it might have been that dude potentially. I can't remember his name, but I remember following him and going, oh wow, he's actually great and does some cool stuff. But there might be another person that I just didn't notice or on that tour.
Yeah, I think it's a case I think it's like a case by case thing, and I think it should be down to the best arrangement that works for the artist and the team and the creative.
Yeah.
Most importantly, for the creative, because they're the person who has to stay sane on tour and like produce the content.
Yes.
So,
he's a young guy who does a lot of nude women shooting. Oh, that's interesting. Connor was doing when you say film, are you talking about film photography or film like as in the video? Because Connor was shooting as in the video content for a film. So I'm getting confused by, like, they're making a film on Sean. I thought you meant like a separate person shooting film stills.
yeah, I thought there was someone.
Maybe. But Connor is definitely, he's the young guy that's shooting. They're making a film and he's doing some content and super talented. Young. I think he's like 21 or some shit. Like crazy.
But I mean, I'm also all for feel like I'm all for people expanding their skill set and trying new things. But to multitask on both, it's a very case by case situation. But I'm like, I think it's great when like creatives branch out into another field. Like they might shoot video one night and then shoot photo the next night. And I have lots of friends who do that really well.
Yep, totally. Yeah, I'm, and also too branching out into more like design work and stuff. Like I think we're definitely seeing that. But people getting more creative too with the stills that they're producing and stuff like that, which is less. It's definitely harder when you're on tour to do that stuff. And it's actually virtually impossible when you're on tour.
But that comes back to what Nathan was saying, like how different your live minutes versus your like portfolio stuff. It's like usually quite a bit if you're tight for time. You're just kind of like pumping out photos and then running into the venue.
Totally, yeah. And then getting on a plane or bus and going to the next venue. You're less able. Yeah. Hey, Croc Boy Caleb, thanks for following. It's definitely easier if you're not having to go to the next venue or next tour to do something a bit more creative. I get sometimes frustrated that you're not able to do that, but then usually post-tour is the time when you can take time to do something or re-edit, which is, I've also spent a bit of time doing that when I felt inspired to do something cool, and it's like, oh yeah, cool, I can do this stuff, I just don't usually get the time to do it,
Not jumping on a plane or getting out of a hotel at 5 a.m.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, might wrap it up. Thanks for everybody for popping in. This has been such a great stream. Like, I feel like we achieved many goals tonight. We hit the subscriber goal, which is like so cool. So stoked. Thanks so
much for having me.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for doing this, you productive, genius, inspirational hero, queen.
Stop it. It's just nervous, anxious energy put into something else. So
it's looking good.
I appreciate it. And big shout out to Aaron once again, because he's helped me do all of this stuff, and we always do a little test stream before we go out now. And there's so many people saying thank you at the moment. I want to shout everybody out. Emma, Gab, Ruby, Lucinda, Aaron, Jared, Britt, Scarlett, Mecca, Steph, Jazz, Jared, Deshaun, Shelley, Nathan, Lucia, Britt, oh my god, Gigi, Simone, Leo, Megan, Marcus, everybody.
I'm just reading out all my friends.
It's basically like the entire like music photography community is here. Zebro just followed, that's so cool. Tim said he's sad that you cut your beard. Did you have it? Oh fuck, did I miss the beard?
I had a Tom Hanks Castaway beard. I was going to bring like Wilson to the stream, like set up little Wilson on the side, but it was time. I had that shoot on Monday.
Oh,
so
you thought you would be presentable?
And actually go to the hairdresser.
Amberly.
Which is fine. We can go to the hairdresser.
Yeah, we can totally do that. Amberly has said, thank you so much for the stream. Unbelievable hearing new info and tips from both of us. That's so cool. I'm so glad that you got some great info out of it. It's definitely been the most in-depth chat that I've done so far, so it's been good. It's basically because I haven't seen you and we just needed to catch up and talk.
Everyone's going to see us catching up.
Yeah, this is our catch-up, guys. We haven't spoken forever. But I'll be back on Sunday night. We're showing... So the challenge for this week is for everybody to do a FaceTime shoot. and we're going to go through.
That one with Raw, by the way. Whoa.
Thank you. I was really happy with that. I was shocked. I shocked myself. Let's put it that way.
That's always a really good outcome.
It is, and I wanted to put the challenge out to all of the regulars to do their own FaceTime shoot. So I'm going to look through everyone's shots on Sunday. I'm so excited about that. It's going to be good.
Might come in and drop a few cheeky MGH emotes.
You can jump in, throw some emotes, show the love.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a subscriber.
You are a subscriber. There's a new emote coming soon, guys, as well. I'm waiting for it to be approved, and it's going to be a game changer. So I'm just letting you all know. Any minute now, it's going to be approved. It takes days. It's so boring. We're getting lots of Jedi. I didn't even know. Hang on 2 seconds. I haven't done this tonight.
We've got to have Jedi.
I just had to wake her up, and she's so sleepy. But look at her she's been sitting. I have to show Jenna. I didn't show her tonight, so she's my baby. Hey, baby. Look how sleep. Look at her face. Oh my god, she's like, what's going on? Oh, I got all the emotes for you, Baba. I wish you could see it. Anyway, Jetta gang all day.
She knows. Is she?
She,
right?
yeah.
She knows.
Calvin's down there as well, but he's like, don't you dare pick me up.
Yeah.
I do have 2 dogs, yes. Calvin's down here. I'll see if I can get him. Hang on a sec. Papa, come here. Come here. I've got him. Hang on. He's coming. Dog content.
Oh, yeah.
This is Calvin. Oh, he's my old baby. He's 11. Oh, look how sweet he is.
My dog's a turn of
Oh. This is Cal. Look how grey his beard is. Oh.
Yeah, my dog's getting little greys.
Where's your papa? We could just do half
She lives with mum and dad.
Oh.
But she just turned 11 as well.
Just gonna do. Whoa.
Husky.
He's freaking out. Lost the headphones. There we go. He's my little silver fox. My little. He's my. Anyway, we'll say goodbye. Thank you so much. You're such a legend, and it was so great to hear just your advice and chat with everybody. It's really, really awesome. Really appreciated. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. This was so fun. We'll be back on Sunday. Can't wait to see all your photos. Catch you later, everybody.
Thanks, guys. See ya.